2025. It's good to see you all here this morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. Commissioner Croom, can you lead us in the prayer and pledge, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for putting us in position that we are in to help serve and lead our county. We ask you to be with the families that are suffering the loss of a loved one. We ask you for your continued protection and guidance. Let every mind be open and hearts be receptive. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So before we get started, as you probably heard over Zoom, Commissioner Ward is attending via Zoom because she's keeping her foot propped up today by the doctor's orders. Correct, Commissioner?
That's true,
Yeah.
Chairman.
All right.
I hate that I can't be there in person, but thank goodness for Zoom.
Yep, it happens, and it is the reason we have Zoom. So we're glad to have you in attendance with us this morning. Mr. Marone, is there anything we need to do to amend the agenda before we approve it?
No, sir.
Or add?
The only thing I would bring everyone's attention to, there was a late add on my report yesterday afternoon, and we'll discuss it when we get to that point. And
Okay.
I will also bring your attention to, during Attorney Schuler's report, we're going to have a discussion with him and Commissioner Croom.
Sorry, him and Commissioner Croom about 911 displays on buildings.
Yes.
To the one of the last items on your agenda is Ms. Barbara, who wants to talk about the same thing. It probably would be a very productive conversation if all three are talking at basically the same time.
Okay. All right. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda as it's been published and as it's been amended?
So moved. Second.
All right, I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Croom, second by Commissioner Amison. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it is unanimous. All right, up next, we are paying the county bills and approving the minutes from the February 18th, 2025 meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Amison. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is also unanimous. All right, Mr. Rowan, you said there were no public comments, correct?
No, none received online and none handed to me before the start of today's meeting, sir.
Okay, up next is the Honorable Amy Cook. Please come forward. Tax collector?
Tax collector.
Yeah.
Good morning. I want to take just a second and say thank you not only to the board, but to the people of Franklin County that voted and believed that I could take and make the tax collector's office not only what we needed, but what we deserve. And I promise to uphold that. Well, mine is really easy. I just needed the board to, I have to send into the Department of Revenue that I wanted to be a budget office, not a fees office. And being that you guys had already approved the budget, I just have a form here that I need the board to sign, just saying that that is what I needed.
Okay. So you need a motion to approve the signature of sign of that?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's, and to clarify, that's leaving you as the budget officer,
Budget,
not
not a fee office, right, for my duration of my term.
I'll make that motion.
Hopefully, I'll be back in another 4 years and maybe another 4 years after
Yeah.
that, but
Right.
I'll make that motion.
All right, so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Sanders. It's been seconded by Commissioner Amison. Any discussion, commissioners? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I'll get them, I'll sign it, sorry. Sorry, I do apologize this morning. My device is not wanting to work, so I'm looking at my stuff off my phone, so give me a minute. I do apologize. Really.
I'll join you via phone.
I'm just saying.
Am I done it?
Chairman.
Yes.
Let me get to the microphone. Let me see if she still wants to do that. Commissioner Crew reminded me, hey, Aaron, would you like to discuss your, item while the tax collector is here? In case there were any
Well,
questions?
that is up to you all. It's a consent agenda, so just if anyone had any questions on that particular line item.
Probably would be I think it's a good idea based on what the ask is.
Oh, okay, let me go ahead and pull it up here. Okay, Commissioners, it was actually item number 8 on my report. Attached to the letter of funding assistance request from Amy Cook, the newly elected tax collector. Ms. Cook assumed the role in January of 2025, which was approximately 25% into the current budget year. Unfortunately, there were some unanticipated, unbudgeted expenses that were not planned for by the prior tax collector during the budget process. Some of the unfunded expenses were relative to the transition, and a majority were relative to emergency staffing efforts after the discovery of the theft in November. The tax collector is requesting that the board pay directly the following expenses and vendors directly for the balance of the budget year to provide enough room in the current budget to make it until September 30th. And that totals about $39,815 that the board would actually be processing some invoices directly on behalf of the tax collector's office just to get her to September 30th. So the board action is requested to authorize payment of the listed expenditures above to assist the tax collector's office with unanticipated transitional expenditures.
Would that be out of capital outlay, Ms. Aaron?
It would actually, yes, most likely that would be where we would have to pull from.
Okay. Well, I'm good with that, and I understand what you're doing. I would rather do it this way, if we need to do it. Any questions, Commissioners? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Amison,
Second.
second by Commissioner Creed. Please go ahead with your comment.
I spoke with Tax Collector Cook in reference to this item, and my only question I had, well, one of the questions was the amount about, she had to bring a bookkeeper in to help straighten some things out. And it wasn't caused by her administration, and I know you're working through it, but I needed clarification on when that person would end services with you all, and you was able to answer that, so thank you.
All right. Any other discussion before we vote? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. All right. Is that the only one that was,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry, I think
No, you're good.
that's the only one we had.
That was the best way to handle it. I seen that Michael, several of these don't have any action items on them, do they?
Yeah, that's why I think they're not here.
That's fine.
Think
I'm sorry I'm having to rely on my phone, so that's part of my
Well,
problem.
Commissioner, you do know the printed copy has almost everything except for the attachments. If you want to do that for now, let me look at your device while you're,
Yeah, here you can have that, because it ain't doing nothing anyway.
let me see what's going on with this.
I think it's 0519, Michael, if you need to know.
Okay.
So, Commissioners, if y'all have any questions for any of the directors, I don't think any of the reports have any action items on them, including Ms. Daniels, IFAS, the library, Ms. Roundtree. I don't see any action items on any of them. So if you have any questions or concerns, just get with those appropriate directors in between meetings. So up next would be Mr. John Sullivan, TDC Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Solomon, TDC Director. I do have 3 action items for y'all today. The first one is a the TDC board voted to recommend to the county commission approval for request of Alligator Point Fire Department in the amount of $24,098 for first responder equipment and the AEDs, and this would come out of that 10% allocated for the first responder and law enforcement tourism-based activities for Alligator Point Beach. Do you want me to go through all of them, Mr. Chairman, or?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm sorry, I'm out of whack with the way this
Yes,
has been
sir.
working, but yes, sir, please.
And the other two are, and this happens throughout the year, when events either come back or start again, about the whatever floats your boat for the FSU Marine Lab. They're wanting to be included in the small event grant program this year. That small portion is $2,000. And then the Forgotten Coast Parrot Head Club's second annual Jimmy Buffett 3-day event, they ask for be included in the major event grant because it is longer than 2 days. And that would be a reimbursement of up to $3,500 for marketing and promotion of those events. And that money is in the budget because we did not have the totality of the money spent when everybody asked for events this year, grants.
All right. Any questions, or is the board good with doing all these in one motion?
I'm fine with it.
All right, pleasure of the board.
So moved.
All right, so a motion to approve by Commissioner Crone, second by Commissioner Amison. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. All right,
Yep, the last thing is, will be a video soon. Sorry for the rain delay, Commissioner Jones. We'll be doing his final part that we have to reshoot for the video that we did of the new Emily device. It's a rescue device that y'all purchased using the TDC funds from that same 10%. We're doing a informational video interviews with the fire department and Commissioner Jones to kind of let the public know this rescue device is available on St. George Island and that the county purchased it for them. So it's not promotion, in a way, kind of it is, because we're letting people know that visit here that we do have these rescue abilities available to us now, so that they can feel safer in our waters.
yeah,
Is this device that they throw in the water?
yes.
The radio controlled,
Okay.
Yep.
yeah, it's,
How far do they say it can go, like up to half a mile or something? Depends on the surf.
yeah, it
of
depends
course.
on, well, they said that they cannot see it before it
Right.
stops
Right,
being able to be controlled.
So
That's
it's
how
just
far it goes out.
visibility is-
The visibility of it is gone before they can stop controlling it, so. And it, you know, it also has an 800-foot tether that they can attach to it if the person's within 800 feet. And once the person grabs a hold of it, they can just go ahead and pull them in right then.
yeah,
So it's, I love the way it's set up because not only that, the fire department, using ingenuity, has attached one of their waterproof radios to it. So when it gets to where it's going, they can actually talk to the distressed swimmer and tell them what to do. Instead of trying to yell from shore, grab a hold of it, you know, we'll pull you in, anything, they can actually talk right there to them directly, which that's, you know, of course, ingenuity of Franklin County. We'll just strap a radio to this thing. So it's a very, I can't wait. I wish we could have showed it, but we were gonna film the last part Monday, and
yeah.
we all know it rained a little bit Monday, so they weren't able to do it. But we will have that. I will get it to Michael to be able to get it to all of y'all as soon as it comes out.
Yeah. And I told Mr. Royce I wouldn't wear my Gulf of America shirt today, so it would take the video and the, you know, so I wore just a regular shirt, so we should be good. That was just a private joke between me and him, sorry. Okay, sounds good. Any other questions or concerns for Mr. Solomon? John, thank you.
Thank y'all, and don't forget that we're having that seminar tomorrow at the Armory. Thank y'all for letting us use it. We have 14 attendees that's gonna be there, so we look
Okay.
forward to having a good class.
Okay. Is Mr. Steve not here? Chris and Bob?
Well, Steve was, he was
Oh,
attending the
sorry, okay.
MRO. He wanted a Zoom link, but I told him, hold on, let me see if he, yep, he didn't use the Zoom link, so he's out there. Okay, let me, I'm gonna, unmute him.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Steve.
Okay, great. Any questions for me, commissioners? I just wanted to go over the one discussion item about the office on site. we tried to evaluate different options, and one was purchasing a trailer, an office trailer, which was obscene. It was like $25,000. The other one was to lease an office trailer for the airport manager on site, and that was ridiculous. And then we were looking about building something in the old generator building, and that was going to cost about $5,000. And I'm going to be doing a lot of meetings at the site for economic development and for construction projects at the airport. And I'd love to project the county in a positive light in a professional manner. And the Randall hangar, that's now our hangar, has 8 offices in it. And three of them face the runway, and one of them has a separate entrance. So I asked County Coordinator Marone, can I use that for a temporary office? I think that the county should keep that as a permanent office at no cost for the airport manager. For me now, whoever it might be, if it's not me, but I have a furniture in there that Randall donated to us, and I purchased a couple other pieces. There's a board table in there, and I think I sent pictures over of what it looks like. But I'd love for the county to consider making that office the permanent airport manager's office at the airport.
Okay.
Who owned the office?
Do I know?
Who owned the office?
No, that was part of
That
the,
was part of the hangar. The guy that had the hangar had offices in
Yeah.
there, is what he's saying.
Mr. Chairman, if I could elaborate on that. This particular office that he's asking for, and I don't know if, obviously, you're not familiar with the hangar, but right when it's got an exterior door where to completely isolate itself.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But is it big enough to have meetings in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the only thing, because I mean, if you're gonna have
And
several
actually,
people, it's
this,
probably better to be upstairs if
this
you need a
would-
big room, you know what
yeah,
I'm
no,
saying?
yeah, but this is more than adequate space.
Okay.
But the thing about it is it's, as you access that and then you sit down at that meeting table that's already there, if you notice some of the pictures on the attachment, it's got a beautiful
Yes,
view of
I did see that.
the runway and all, but
Yeah.
it could be, I guess what I'm trying to say is it can be isolated to where it wouldn't affect anything
Okay.
in the future.
The county owned the office, all right?
Yeah, we own
Yeah, well, the hangar, yeah.
So,
All right.
so basically,
Yeah, this is
Commissioner,
saving money.
Yeah.
Commissioner Krumah, I see a look, what we'll basically do, when we rent the hangar, the square footage would exclude that office space from now on. So that will remain with the county, but somebody could rent the rest of the hangar, and the two can basically be, isolated from each other, independent from each other,
Yeah,
basically.
well, that make more sense than buying portable trailers and everything.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
any day, sir.
Attorney Schuler, is there any problem with us doing it in that manner?
Not that I'm aware of,
Okay,
no.
just wanna check and make sure.
Oh, okay, and I was gonna say, I'll actually have it as an action item, as part of my,
Okay.
consent action. And
That's
next
what
one,
I wanted to
I
know.
just wanted you guys to get familiar, ask questions. You have the whole
Okay.
next couple of weeks in case you have more questions
All right.
to find out about it, and then I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
All right,
Mr. Chairman.
yes.
Are we moving too fast on this or not? I'm concerned with this.
On this office?
Because we never have had, I'm just asking the question.
yeah.
We never have had an office for an interim director, manager. And, do we even know what the plan on the airport is? That's where I'm coming from. And I'm just asking the simple
Yep,
question.
yeah. Well, no, I
No
think
confrontation,
I think it's
none
all
of that.
coming together, to be honest with you, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We need to have a good basic plan about, and especially so the people can see what's being planned. Because I, as a commissioner, I don't even know what's being planned.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? Do you know? Do you know, Mr. Chairman?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Don't you think it'd be kind of good to have some kind of a direction that we're going in? And I have absolutely no problems with
Yeah.
this, but everything else we have a plan of how to move forward and what we're moving forward toward.
Well, that actually goes along with what I was saying, that we need to try to do, and I don't know if we can do it this year, but we've never really had a budget for the airport.
That's what I'm saying.
But as we go into our budget time this year, we need to have some more clarity, you know, but having an office space, that's fine, I don't.
I mean,
we need to have
I don't,
meetings, you know.
but I just wanna bring it up to the board because as a commissioner, I've served here a long time. And as a commissioner, we never have moved this far with the airport. And what are we moving toward? That's what I wanna know. What are
Well,
we,
hopefully we're moving toward a solvent airport that's gonna provide some economy in Franklin County.
but
That's what
how,
we're looking at.
what kind and how much and all like that? What is the vision? In other words, what is the vision of the board?
Yeah.
You know, the vision of the airport, the vision of the board,
Yeah.
and everything, because this commissioner don't know.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm just saying, I'm just expressing myself as I can, representing the people.
Yeah.
And I just think that we need a clear plan moving forward. Am I against it? I'm not against nothing.
Yeah.
But I'm one that I like to have solid information given to me and not just doing, you know, just doing it on a whim.
I know what
You
you're
know what I'm
saying.
saying?
I do know what you're saying, because,
Because we never have gone this far.
well, so if we had a different economic development board, because this is for the airport. If we had a different economic development board, you would know you're meeting what you're going for. If you say, okay, we really want, and I'm just saying, for instance, we really want, another grocery store somewhere in the county, another pharmacy somewhere in the county, and they actually could lure those businesses, then you know you've succeeded. If it's just open-ended, yeah, you might be luring something, but that is up, or just after whoever, you know what I mean? So I get what you're saying.
And the thing that makes it very important that we got to hire the right people to move us forward with the economic development.
That's right.
We just can't just throw it out there and depend on one person to do it and get it done. And
You're right.
how far do we want this economic development to go with the airport? Because you've got a lot of people out there, and as you change the landscape of the airport, so you're gonna have to do special zoning and stuff like that, but at the same time, you need to ensure that the private property around that area is protected too.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm just.
I appreciate your concern, Commissioner Sanders.
I didn't ask.
And as long as I'm here, I'm just trying to bring good jobs and economic development to the county, which we sorely need. And right now, I have the Air Force Research Lab that's doing a project that's going to bring $8,500 a month coming in. And also, we have a drone operator that we're going to be having negotiations with this month.
Mr.
And
Chairman.
also, we have, in regards to you, Commissioner Sanders, I got in touch with Project Alpha. I found them, and I got hold of one of the principals, and we're in discussions right now. It's a much smaller scale, but as soon as I hear more, I'll let you know. But thank you very much for that lead, and it took me about 4 months to find the principal. He's in Germany, and the company's based out of Dubai, and we've had a couple of conversations already. So I'm trying my hardest for the county, and when these people come down to the airport, I just want to project the county in a positive light, and I appreciate your concern.
Thank you, Steve.
I was just directing the question.
Oh, that's fine.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
yeah. that's
I
okay.
didn't need his input.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Yes.
as far as the duration of airport, Commissioner, we've been discussing this
It
since
ain't-
I've
it
been here.
ain't-
Now,
Hey,
I didn't interrupt you.
Hey,
You had your moment. Now let me have mine,
Well,
please.
I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just saying, please.
Hold on now. Go ahead and finish.
Now, as far as the direction of the airport, we've had multiple discussions. I've sat in on drone meetings with companies, 2 of them actually, and y'all approved me to speak with one under a,
Yes,
non-disclosure.
yes. Yep.
So, I mean, as far as direction of the airport, I don't see where it's no more clear than what we've been doing. I mean, we have got progress going out there. The simple ask is, do we want to spend $25,000 on an office to hold meetings? Because every time we have a meeting out there, we have to go to Centric and borrow the space that we lease to them. So, I mean, all this does is it just professionalizes our airport under our interim airport manager, whether it's Mr. Kirchenbaum or whoever it is down the road.
Yeah.
That's all this is.
Well,
And I understand your concern, and I know where your motivation comes from. But at the end of the day, we have positive action going on out there, and we've had multiple discussions on this multiple times over many different things. And I don't understand where you're asking about what direction we're going in. We're going in a positive direction with multiple areas. We got Haney, we've got, like I said, 2 drone companies. Now we have potentially the Air Force coming in with the test balloon thing, as we was referring to the $8,000 a month rent. And then, at your suggestion about the dismantling program that was in Tallahassee, you remember about 2 years ago? Well, Steve went and run them down, and now he's in discussion with
That's
them.
when that brought up.
That's exactly right.
That's when-
So we have, you know, it's there. We've been talking about it. So I'm just not really sure what y'all are talking about, knowing what direction we're going in. I mean, I don't have any doubt what direction we're going in. So I'm just trying to figure out what exactly do you need clarity-wise about a direction, though?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I just wanted to know, I mean, is that the direction we're gonna go in, or are we gonna do a rail spur through the airport to go to the port over there in St. Joe? Or we're gonna allow the St. Joe, you know, because there's been a lot of talk about St. Joe wanting to build an airport, and the people over in Gulf County and say, why are we doing an airport when Franklin County has an airport and we can all join in? You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I understand completely.
And it's nothing against
No,
nothing.
but what I'm saying is we have an open blank canvas out there. And, honestly, we do. We've got a few T hangars, and we've got the Centric hangar and a few hangars there, but as far as our airport goes, it's really an empty canvas. So what we've been doing, myself and Mr. Kirchenbaum and George Wilkerson, there's a bunch of people that's been involved with this. We're just going out and getting options. You know, we hadn't tied anything down. We hadn't committed to anything that big right now, because we're still trying to figure out what's the best fit for Franklin County. So,
And
I
that's a
mean,
decision all of us have. to
that's
make.
exactly right. But I would rather come to you with, or, you know, I'd rather come to you guys and represent
That's
the
why I
airport in my
asked the
district and say, hey, look, this drone company is a better fit, and I'm just using this in particular. Don't take this in any way, because, well, it's low on noise pollution. You know, there's so many variables in there, and obviously, you know, I hear from a lot of the folks in the district when it comes regards to the airport, because, I mean, there's neighbors at the airport. I'm looking at 2 of them. But I mean, I'm keeping all that. But what I'm saying is, obviously, this commission's gonna make the final decision, but there's a lot of gears moving on this, and we've had multiple discussion on it, so.
Well, and I think, as far as the airport, as far as me, I'm not talking about nobody else, that I need to be communicated more through staff. Because, see, I didn't know about this until I saw it on the report. In other words, if on here, we try to do things that if one commissioner knows it, we all know it. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's not happening. Now, is that a breakdown with us? It's not a breakdown with us, because we can't talk to each other. You see, we have to have this right here, what we're having. And it's no reflection on nobody, no person, or nothing. It's just in my mind, I could not see that. But if you're saying that's the way it's going, then let's do it. Then, see what I'm saying?
The proposal.
And it's not needed that every time a commissioner says anything, that it's got to be confrontational, or somebody, you know, adds something to it. It's not that. It's just, as a representative of people, just like us 5 are, I just feel like sometimes I have to ask the hard questions, and I get kind of beat a little bit, but that's okay.
No.
Because, you know, the communication levels has got to be there.
Well, let's try to figure out where the communication level's breaking down.
Yeah,
All right.
because I didn't know nothing about this. Did you know about it?
Michael, have you reached out to,
No, but
Commissioner
that's
Sanders
only-
with any information that any other commissioners was privileged to?
Actually,
Or-
Commissioners, so no, so let me,
See?
let me fully explain here. So
See what
the
I'm
whole
saying?
intention of getting an airport manager was to alleviate Aaron and myself from having to deal with the airport on these issues on a daily basis. However, in the past, the board has never asked in any way that every time we have a meeting with any agency that's a potential something, that we bring it. We bring it to the board when it's knocking on the door ready
That's
to be
right.
approved.
That's correct.
That's how this board has always worked, and that's the way
correct.
I continue. If you guys want to change that, because just Commissioner Ward could tell you, we were scheduled to have a meeting. Actually, we met, could have been Monday morning, actually. I'm sorry, lose track of days. Commissioner Ward, myself, Mr. Kirschenbaum, and this gentleman for this tear down project met on Monday. His other partner could not join at the last minute, so we kind of postponed that meeting. But even if we had met and there were discussion, I wouldn't have brought that to the board because we're still far away from getting to that point, commissioners. But when we get closer, yes, then I would say, okay, commissioners, this is in the works. This looks real. You know, how do you guys feel about it? Like I always do, I would say, okay, how do you guys feel about this? Here's where we are. You know, I mean, we'll be here forever if I bring every single item to the board that may or may not be, and I'm not talking just about the airport, I'm talking in general,
Yes.
that may or may not be, you know, a potential. The chairman and I,
Oh, we have all kinds of meetings.
we have all kind of meetings and that, you know, that we never do. Commissioner Kroom and I,
Nothing sometimes.
we go back and forth because let's bring this to the chairman himself the other day when this similar 911 discussion we're going to have here in a few minutes. The chairman said, well, he asked me about it because Ms. Barber out there wanted to get on the agenda. And the chairman's like, well, I didn't even know Commissioner Kroom and Attorney Schuler were having discussions about 911 on apartments. And I said, yeah. And then I brought it back to say, well, when we have this discussion at the meeting, I'm sure Commissioner Sands is going to talk about Lanark Village because that's been an ongoing issue. And Ms.
That's
Barber
what
and I
I'm
talked
talking
about,
y'all.
Ms. Barber and I talked about Lanark Village.
That's what I'm talking about, Audit.
But commissioners, again, there are certain things that I bring to you when it gets to that point. There are other things you guys just need to discuss at an open meeting.
Yes.
I guess this was one of them.
You know, you know, and fair enough. Mr. Kirschenbaum made sure he took. I said take pictures, send me attachments. I try make sure to add to the agenda as much information as possible. And now that we meet on Wednesday, the whole point of meeting on Wednesday, we have an extra day. So if you look at the agenda on Friday, you have the weekend to look at it, and Monday morning you say, okay, Michael, what's this, what's this, what's this? So, you know, it's tough, y'all, if you want. If
No,
you
I
want
understand.
myself and Aaron to go over every single thing with you all, you know, all
No,
the time.
and that, you answered it perfectly, because that brings me to my next point. That's why we have an interim airport manager. The interim airport manager needs to be reaching out to the commissioners.
Yes, that's his job.
Exactly.
That's his job.
So, now I think he's.
No, he's still here. Hold on.
You're still
He's
there.
there, driving along
Mr.
here.
Chairman, if I could just
But we-
say something real quick.
Were you done?
Can y'all hear me?
Go
Yes,
ahead.
go ahead.
So, you know, so many years, I remember growing up as a kid, that airport to me has always been a hobby airport. It's come to the point now to where it is economically feasible for us to look at it and grow it and bring it forth to other people and other entities to use that airport more as just a hobby airport, to bring jobs, to do a lot of different things. So that airport, in my opinion, has come a long way. And I will say that I did get the report, but Mr. Kirschenbaum did call me and explain this office thing. And he does, I will say most directors, when they have something on the agenda that's pretty big, they do call. I know I get calls, them explaining certain things. So, you know, I think that this airport is moving along very quickly, and we're getting a lot of offers and inputs, and it's a circular continuity kind of thing where there's something constantly going to be going now because we're on the map.
Yep.
And I feel like people are attracted to our airport now that we're trying to grow it. And we have a board now that wants to grow it. And I think that's very important that people see that. And so that's why things are kind of moving fast. But I feel like that every little thing, every little meeting that the chairman has and all these, you know, other meetings, I agree. We don't need to know every little thing. It's nice to be knowledgeable and know what's coming up. But I feel like if that's the case, then Aaron and Michael will be calling us constantly.
Yeah.
So I feel like coming before the board and, you know, something comes up real close to fruition, I feel like it's important that we know about it. But other than that, that's my thoughts on those things.
Mr. Chair, I got something to say.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Two things. In regards to the whole office thing, my thought was, okay, so why the interim managers or managers prior didn't have offices?
Because we weren't doing nothing with the airport.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay. That was my question.
We weren't having any meetings, we weren't doing anything.
Well,
Go ahead.
just to address what Commissioner Cream was asking, we had a airport manager at one time, and that was located in Thomasville, and I believe, I wasn't here at the time, but Commissioner Ward's the one that wanted him front and center, and then he resigned. I mean, it was, you know, he didn't do his job there personally. Now, that's my opinion. And then we had Mr. Ted, which we all love dearly. Mr. Ted was more of a, how would you say it? He was more from a hands-on perspective, you know, mechanically and stuff like that, with his ingenuity on getting things going. That was why it was such a hard pull when we was trying to get rid of some of the older equipment, because he was, you know, attached to some of it because he twisted on everything out there. And what we've tried to do now is evolve more into both a true managerial position and throwing a little bit of economic growth in there as well. So that's why the ask for the office was, because Steve's technically working out of his basement.
And I'm in favor of it. I was just wondering prior.
I was just trying to give you a little history on the airport. It's just in the past, and this is no reflection of anybody sitting here, so please don't take this personal, but the airport was just ignored. Mm-hmm. We gave it away for $2,500 a month for years, the whole airport. And, you know, is that really a good way to use the people's assets, asset for the community? And in my opinion, when I first got elected, I thought that was atrocious, and that's why I've been trying to figure out ways to get something started out there for this board to get something started, not just me, but by it being in my district, obviously I'm front and center with it, just like any other commissioner here would be if it was sitting in their backyard. So that's the history of the airport.
And my second thing is, Commissioner Ward just touched on it. I was going to say is, you know, for so long this airport was a hobby, and it's been dormant for so long. Now we got so much stuff going on, it's kind of scary. You're like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, our interim airport manager, he is working, because if you look at his agenda or his report, like 5 pages, like, oh my God, you know. So, but we are getting a lot of activity out there, and we got people now interested. So.
Well, I think
change is different, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Change is different. Change is scary.
I think the problem is the communications level.
That comes back around, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Sanders. What I was about to say earlier, you know, Mr. Kirchenbaum, and I know he's listening. I can't see that far, but I think
he's there.
I'm here.
But maybe that's a communication gap between yourself and Mr. Kirchenbaum. So I would ask, as one of the 5 commissioners, that Mr. Kirchenbaum reach out and keep Commissioner Sanders more up to date,
Especially on action items.
Yeah, on action items.
Especially.
Mr. Chairman.
Now, I have asked him in the past, though, I'm not gonna just throw him completely under the bus as well, especially about the dismantling project and all. I said, do you need to kind of reach out to Commissioner Sanders, because she was the one that went and found that bone, so to speak. You know, and I think
I didn't even know that.
Well, I believe he actually tried to make communication with you a couple of times.
I've been trying a bunch.
Yeah.
I'd love to communicate with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, maybe we just need to work on that part of it. But I think as far as the airport in the whole, I still think we got a lot of momentum out there. You know, it's a lot of good things, and there's a lot of potential. So.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, so not to stray too far from the airport, but you guys, Commissioner Sanders, opened the window, Commissioner, and Chairman, you kicked down the door. I do think we need to have some, there's a term for it, and ARPC is here, they walked in not too long ago. So meetings, workshops is a better term for it, to talk about the county's economic development goals as a whole, and then the airport specifically. You know, to see where, really and truly, where we're going and the goals we need to meet, and start to set up some.
It's probably gonna take more than one.
I know, yes, sir, but I think we're there at that point now.
Yes.
That it needs to happen.
It does.
Yes, I think we need to get, and I know Aaron and I are going to reach out to Ms. Swope and see where she's at with it.
Yeah.
And at some point, and you know, Commissioner Amos, and I'll look to him for some guidance on this. At some point, do we need, so we leave the AOED in place, but do we need a bigger economic development board with some of the airport people on that big board, or vice
Yeah.
versa.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're there, commissioners. We need to start moving in this direction, looking for other property in the county that can be used, for economic development, where we don't have, and God, the state or the federal government is listening, please don't take this the wrong way, but where we don't have to jump their hurdles to do certain things and offer incentives to companies that want to come to Franklin County and do business. I love the airport, but the airport has a lot of hurdles to jump sometimes when you want to offer an incentive to somebody to come into the county and do good and create jobs.
Yes.
Well, and I'm glad we're having this discussion because that's just like the city of Carabel. The city of Carabel went in there and invested and worked with the gentleman that had Green Steel building the houses and stuff. And then that went down by the wayside.
Yes.
And that wasn't going to employ a whole bunch of people. So I think it's like you said, we need to look at basically economic development in the whole county realm, not just one particular thing. Because it's like this. Yes, that airport can be the economic driver, but we're gonna have to have other things besides that to put jobs in here.
We are.
Because not everybody can have a job out there at the airport, and all that. So, I'm sorry if I ruffled any feathers.
No,
I
you're
was
good. We're just having a
just
discussion.
being,
So I will
that's
say
where I felt.
this, Michael, I think going forward, I'm fine with where we're at with the airport. I'm fine the way we're trying to do economic development with the airport. But I do want to keep, we do need to do other stuff, and we've already talked about this. But I want that airport board to stay focused on the airport.
Yes,
And we need to have potentially another board focused on the county.
yes,
You know what I mean? We do.
yeah,
We're to that point, because if we don't, we're never gonna develop anything.
yeah.
So I will say, to wrap up our discussion on the airport though, as I understood it, what we talked about doing just a minute ago with this office is at no cost to the county.
Yes, none.
The 25,000 goes out the window.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanna make sure that was right. So the other thing I would remind everyone, the airport board, just like the TDC and some of our other boards, are advisory boards. They make recommendations to us. They can't lock our feet into anything. And Commissioner Sanders, to your point earlier about the extension of the runway and the spur, that's actually in our master plan. We, the board, adopted that. So subsequent to finding funding, which I rattle trees all the time from Chris Rito, the other people I might run into, where can we try to get money from? So sure as we can get the money to do that, then that's already in our master plan.
Yeah, because there's some money out there that one of the Wakulla County Commissioners were able to get.
Yep.
And it's employee something.
Well, we need to find out about it.
Some kind of grant. Ralph
Yeah.
Thomas
Yeah.
did it.
Okay,
And I think he got somewhere around $3 million.
I'll get in touch with Ralph and ask him about it.
Yeah, but, there's different things, but anyway, so.
Yep,
Okay, so it will be an action item again on my next report.
yes, in the
Okay.
next report. So we're not really deciding on that today, correct?
No, sorry, I just want to have the discussion today to save the discussion to the next meeting.
All right. Ms. Courtney doesn't have to set up anything. She's attending via Zoom and it's all already ready, correct?
Yep, she should be
All right.
ready to roll with her
Ms. Courtney,
share
where to
screen.
you? Good morning.
Well, do we want to do that first, or do we want to do the other report first?
Which other report? Did I miss something?
The rest of my report?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll do the video last.
Okay, that's fine.
So, on my report, I have a few items that I just wanted to run by you guys that we've done for SHIP that are basically completed. Carol Brasky was an emergency repair project, so she is completed. So all we have to do is pay them. They fixed the inside of the roof and the outside of the roof, so she's taken care of. Otis, I know she's in your district. I know she's called you a couple times, but we got her taken care of. The other ones we have, we've received bids back for a couple of rehab projects. Annie Wilson, Santana Myers, Kathy Williams, Melissa West. And all of those bids were approved to the lowest bidder, so we should be getting started on those really soon. And those are, I think, in everyone's district, just about, Commissioner Kroom and Otis's district. We have, one down payment assistance that, we're needing approval for payment for Jacqueline Neighbors. We just got her, so she'll be closing on the 15th. So I just want to run that by the board because we're going to be doing the down payment assistance for her. And that's only $10,000 of SHIP funds for down payment assistance. And then we're still pending bids for two of them, Donna Pearson Ferguson for home rehab. And I'm waiting for the mobile home contractors to send you back bids for Jan Ordonia, which will be our first demolition reconstruction strategy applicant. So I'm really excited about her.
Good.
Anybody have any questions about that before I move on to my next item?
Any questions, commissioners? No, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay. So the second thing is the county ordinance discussion for dilapidated unsafe structures. Staff would like to open a discussion regarding dilapidated, unsafe, and hazardous properties. So when we do have that situation, we don't currently have an ordinance that states once we deem a property unsafe, what are we going to do after that? Like, do we have 30 days to make the person do anything with the property? Does the county decide to do something with the property? So I just wanted to open that discussion because that is something that we need to discuss, because we're getting to that point where we're going after properties that are extremely dilapidated and unsafe.
So you're talking about, let me clarify this, Courtney. You're talking about maybe we dealt with a couple of them between East Point and Carabel there for a while that had been completely destroyed by repeated hurricanes. The houses had been left vacant, or what was left of them. They were close to the shoreline. They're a third of a house there. You know what I mean? You're talking about that kind of thing, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add, I kind of been speaking to Courtney. As a matter of fact, Steve and I went out to a home before I got injured, and it was just, the roof's gone. There's debris everywhere. It's going into the neighbor's yard. You know, if another storm comes up, it's just going to continually to get damaged. Stuff's going into the water. We saw air conditioned vent like in the water into the bay. So it's more of a environmental thing too. And I guess the houses are getting damaged, and the homeowner just, I don't know, I guess they just don't care. I mean, I know they're still paying taxes on it, but again, I know it will hurt our tax base, but we've got to do something. There's so many dilapidated, rundown houses and with erosion. I mean, our land's eroding, and this particular house, you could see where the water just keeps bashing up against it. It's only a matter of time before it's going to completely collapse. And I've done research as how we can do this. A lot of counties do it different. Leon County, I know that Steve was talking to Justin, and if Justin's on it can elaborate, but what some people do is they alert the owner, just like we do with our normal code, what our new code enforcement policy is. They'll send a letter. If the homeowner doesn't respond, we follow that process, but then it'll do like everything else and just go to the magistrate.
Yes.
So that's just my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, thank you. And I was going to clarify, thank you for that, Commissioner. I was going to clarify with Ms. Courtney that is still to be the same process we've been doing with the other properties you're already working with, Ms. Courtney.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, that's why we tried to institute and start code enforcement. You know, because we're not trying to be against any property owners. We're just trying to bring things into compliance.
Correct.
And, you know, especially going back to the one I referenced earlier. So the issue we were having with those homes wasn't really just the way they were and the way they'd been left. The adjacent property owners were worried it was going to damage their home in a future storm, because it's going to blow that stuff around and hit their home, and that's valid. So I'm good with it. I'm just one of 5, but I'm good with it.
Not to mention that they're havens for pests and all that kind of, so it's a health concern as well.
Pests and or drugs, or they tell them what all kind of stuff will go.
I know we've got a situation down at Alligator Point where
the house is out there in water.
Yep,
And he's, you know.
that's
which
one
I'm
of them.
talking
That's
about,
a
Courtney.
major issue.
And he's still using it, and his septic tank is just laying on the shoreline, you know, so.
He's already at that point where he can't, the state won't give him a permit because it's too far eroded.
So let me
So-
ask you a question about that, Ms. Courtney. I'm not trying to talk about a ongoing investigation or a case live, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding something. So if they have a problem with their septic tank being too close to the water, at some point, doesn't the state, don't they have to do an annual on those things? And at some point, the state's gonna tell them they can't do it, correct?
Well, the state's already told him that he can't replace his septic because he doesn't have enough land.
Yeah.
Even if he was to bring in stuff, so he's at that point where
Yeah.
his place is basically deemed unlivable.
Right.
But
Okay.
we don't have anything in our, regulations that state once it's deemed unlivable, what's the next step?
Yeah.
So that's basically what I'm trying to get to because we're gonna have more of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And I just wanna make sure the county is covered before we go after.
So
all of
that's a
these
discussion,
properties.
Attorney Sure, we're gonna have to have apparently. All right. Go ahead, Ms. Courtney.
So that's it on that one. So the next thing I wanted to bring up is, so Sissy and I have been working very hard on a lot of these properties. And Commissioner Otis just told me that one of the ones that we are working on is actually getting their property into compliance this morning. So I just wanted to show like a little slideshow, kind of give you guys before and afters of the projects that we have gotten completed from start to finish. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
There it is. You still see that?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay. So, this is behind the scenes, compliance behind the scenes. The power of communication, we are major in the power of communication between us as staff and the violators. We're trying to reestablish that bond between government and the public. So it could look like different things. Sometimes, which are best case to worst case scenarios, you have a heart-to-heart conversation. There's a 10-day handshake. We give them a list of resources to help them, and then you have complete rectifications. On the opposite end, it's more of a 30-day notice, 10-day notice, notice of abatement, and then the magistrate hearing. So here are some of the examples. All of the addresses have been redacted to protect the property owner. So here's one. These are before photos. And this is after. Now there's still more work to be done, but that is a major improvement. Here's another one. That's after, completely cleaned off. This is an aerial view of how bad it was. And this is after. Here's another one. And he's still working. He goes out there and works on it every day. But it takes time. This is one of their big ones. We're not just working on regular homes, but also your different trailer parks and stuff like that, trying to get them in compliance. And these people have been working very hard. And this is what it looks like as of yesterday. And they're still working hard to get it cleaned up, but they have done a lot of cleanup. So as final comments, me and Sissy went over this yesterday. We wanted to let the public know that it takes time and effort from both parties. It didn't get that way overnight, and it's not going to go away overnight. There is extensive work and research that goes into every case, and every case is different. Not one case is actually just as mirror image of the other case. And staff follows all guidelines and regulations. Sometimes it's not when, but how. The method of approach can make or break achieving the desired outcome. And then it's also had a positive ripple effect because they see us going after their neighbors. Then we've also had people already cleaning up their properties because they don't want us to come after them. What we would like to see more of is a start to finish guideline or guidance, like a checklist of what we do, like, so we're not missing any steps. So when it goes to magistrate, everything is as it should be. We also we've been talking with the city of Carabel. They call like a cleanup fund, and any money that they receive from like fines, penalties, magistrate, that all goes into that cleanup fund for the different ones that maybe the county has to clean up and put a lien on the property. You know what I mean? Like, we need that fund because if not, we're going to be pulling that out of our funds to clean up these properties. So having a cleanup fund, I think, will be a great idea because anything that we've done, especially like tipping fees that Fonda is waiving for a lot of these properties who are getting dumpsters, that'll help fund all of that. And we also like to see more severe penalties and fines. That's my slideshow.
Thank you, Ms. Courtney. That was really good because, so what y'all are doing is part of the health, safety, and well-being of residents also.
Correct.
So, yes. I think y'all have done a tremendous job. Thank you for putting that short slideshow together. And I know, and you said it, and I know we're just getting started. Matter of fact, I had this conversation with someone yesterday, and I called you and talked to you about it, about one of the properties that we've already discussed that's a house that can't be built back, and there's other stuff on the property, you know what I mean, it needs to be cleaned up. And, the property owner was like, well, when are y'all gonna do something about that? I said, well, don't worry, we're not there yet, but we're gonna get there. Well, you can't be everywhere at one time, so you have to just work on some areas and keep moving. So thank you for that.
No problem. And I want the public to know that we are working. They may not see how much work we're doing on the back end because there's a lot of factors that go into it. For instance, there's one property or a couple of properties where the original owner had passed away. So it hadn't gone through going up, what do they call it?
Probate.
Probate.
Yes.
So, the letters are being returned and we don't know anything about, why the letters are being returned.
Right.
And then next thing you know, we get a call from the new property owner and they had no idea that the property was in violation. So you have a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're working on these same files for at least a year before you actually get rectification. So I just want people to know that we are working. They may not see the work that goes into it, but we are working on all these cases.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add something.
Yes.
Courtney, I guess, what do we need to do? I can't make a motion or a second since I'm via Zoom and not there in person. Can we direct county staff, Attorney Schuler or somebody to maybe start looking into a policy for these dilapidated structures? And we do have, so the public is aware, I think this Friday, April the 11th, is our first magistrate hearing for the ones that are already met that deadline, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it'll be interesting. I was going to try to make it, can't now, but it'll be interesting to see how that process works. But I don't know if we can, at the next meeting, come up with a policy or I don't know, so we can have to set out, moving forward, we have something in place.
Yeah, so Attorney Schuler, is that something, do you need board direction on that motion and vote, or can you just do it by direction?
I've already made a
You've
note.
already made a note, okay. So he's already written it down, Commissioner Ward.
Mr. Chairman.
She's frozen a little bit.
I'm sorry, Rose. Yeah, I think she'll have to reconnect. Oh, no, she's back, I think.
Thank you, Chairman.
Not a
Thanks,
problem.
Attorney Schuler. Thanks, Courtney.
No problem.
Before,
Oh.
Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
guys, if I may too, with Courtney mentioning the down payment assistance for, actually with a closing date of April 15th, that's actually going to be before our next commission meeting. So we will need to get special authorization to issue a manual check for that down payment assistance.
Thank you, Aaron.
Okay,
Motion and a second.
Motion,
all right,
That has to be by board action.
okay.
And we bouncing back to ship, is that?
Yeah, that's what happened here.
Yeah.
Bouncing back to ship, yes, yes, it is.
Probably should have said, I called it, but I
Yeah.
should have said something. Yes, we're bouncing back to the ship.
And
That she
that-
was talking about, there was one that was approved for down payment assistance.
Yeah, and I think
That happened.
I make a motion.
Second.
All right, so we do have a motion to approve that manual check for the ship, down payment assistance from Commissioner Amison, second from Commissioner Sanders. Since it was not published on our agenda, I do call for public comment. If anybody wishes to comment, please come forward, state your name for the record before the board takes this potential action. Is there anyone via Zoom that would like to comment? sir?
Anyone would like to comment on this item, please indicate by raising your hand on your device. No hands raised, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Since we do not have any public comment, is there any more discussion before we vote? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous, 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, before Courtney walks away or turns off the camera, either one goes to mute. Item 5, page 25 on your agenda, item 5, this kind of relates to what Courtney and Sissy's been doing. During the last few meetings, I've asked the board to consider a cost-sharing agreement with the Department of Health that would allow Ms. Wendelin Cece Smith, she's currently a DOH environmental health aide, to continue her role with DOH, but also serve as Franklin County's code enforcement officer. After today's meeting, this afternoon, I'm going to email you a DOH-approved position description that states Mrs. Smith's duties and responsibilities, including her role as the county's code enforcement officer. I ask that you review this document. Let me know if you have any questions, so I can get with Sarah at the Health Department of Health. At my next report, I will have approval of this agreement, the cost-sharing amount, and some code enforcement certification class expenses that Mrs. Smith has already took on behalf of the county. That'll be on my April 23rd report as a consent action item. And that was just an information discussion item, Commissioners, in case you had any questions now. But since you don't have it in front of you,
I do have one question, though.
Yes, sir?
I'm hoping when we look at it, that it's Franklin County,
Yes,
if we're gonna do it.
it does. It says under 50% serves as Franklin County's code enforcement officer and something duties. And so
Yeah.
I will also include Attorney Schuler and Ms. Erin Griffith on this email so
Right.
that they're looking at the same thing you are.
Right. Yeah, 'cause
Sir?
Excuse me.
that's okay. Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I know that there might be other things that she might be doing as a DOH employee that is not in Franklin County, but I don't want her, I'll just put it this way, if we're gonna fund it,
Yeah,
I don't want her doing code enforcement somewhere else. I
that's
want
right. If
her
we're
doing
paying the
Franklin
bill, it's all ours.
Yes.
Yes, I hear you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
So with this, when we go with this, the Franklin County Sheriff Office will not be the code enforcement no more, correct?
That's correct. We'll have to
They'll
make.
still have a role, but they won't be the
Yeah,
code
they'll still have
enforcement.
a role. Attorney Schuler already pointed out to me, we'll have to change that policy once
Yes.
the board agrees to this.
Yes, sir. All right. Any other discussion on it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you voted already on the, this is not for vote today.
No,
It will be.
you said discussion. I
Oh,
asked
yes,
is there
yes.
more
I'm
discussion?
I'm sorry.
You good?
I heard
just
you.
wanted to know if anybody else
I
had
heard
anything.
discussion, but I didn't hear vote. I'm sorry, sir.
You're good. You're good. All right. So now we're to Miss Erin Griffith, correct?
Yes, sir.
Miss Erin, how you doing today?
Oh, good. Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. So Commissioners, are there any items on her consent agenda that you wish to pull and discuss before we vote on the items? Remembering that number 8 has already been covered.
Chairman Jones, I'd like to pull action number 6.
All right.
That's it for me.
Anyone else?
I just want to make a comment about number
Yep, go ahead. Go ahead.
Number 1 item.
Yeah, go ahead.
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I it.
You're good.
We've talked to the road department, they can do the demolition of the old firehouse down there.
Okay,
And so that'll save us money right there.
yes.
And I think, Aaron, you talked to Howard the same as I did, didn't you?
I did,
To
yep,
make
and
sure
they
you can
confirmed
do
that they
that.
could actually handle the demolition process for us, which is good because, the grant would actually not cover that. But we were, really excited because FDOT actually accelerated this project. It was not supposed to be until 2027, actually, and they did accelerate it and actually included it in this year's work plan.
That's
So
a good thing.
we were very pleased with that.
Yeah.
And as far as the helipad is concerned, we are going to try to leave it in its current location. So as far as, when you're looking at that image, it shows you the in the beginning and ends of the projects. Now, as far as how the road will actually, the curvature, that's going to be something up to the designers once they get going on the project.
And that's what the people down in Alligator Point was concerned with when we removed the firehouse, where we're gonna move the helipad too. And I said, no, the helipad would stay there until we could find some other, I don't see no reason trying to find it because it's far enough off of that property, over to the edge of that property toward Harry Morrison Road over there. So, but anyway, that's a good thing. We've been waiting a long, long time
Yes.
for this, a long time,
Oh,
way
yeah.
back when Alan Pierce was on board.
Yes.
So it's been a long time coming. That will finally, I'm hoping, shore up the part of the road that we've always had problems with. As you all know, that project that we did a year or two back, stabilizing that coastline right there, it made it through all the storms last summer without any damage, maybe batting a couple of rocks and stuff. But this is a project that is it's a good thing because it stabilizes that road, and you don't have to run send the road department down there every time you turn around. Because it was every time we had a storm, the road department lived down at Alligator Point, and not that's not in a negative way, but they did. I mean, they had to restore back the road. But anyway, this is helping it, and I support this 100%.
Commissioner Sanders, where are you moving the fire department to?
It's already been moved.
It's already been
It's
moved.
already moved to Tom
Okay.
Roberts Road.
Yep.
Yeah.
And elevated too, so yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's already
Yeah.
moved.
They already moved that. And this
Yeah,
is-
and commissioners as well, the Barnacle drop box is actually being relocated to the right across the street from the new location of the volunteer fire department.
Yeah.
Actually on the, kind of at the entrance to the old KOA, the property that the county had purchased, there's a power pole that's been installed there, and that's where the drop box location will be instead of at the old firehouse.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't gonna ask you a question, but you brought it up. When's the second Barnacle drop box gonna be installed?
That is a question for the sheriff's department.
Well, we're funding it, so you better believe I'm gonna be asking it.
Okay.
Because it's not just gonna be Alligator Point. The agreement was it was gonna be Alligator Point and St. George Island.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question for
Yes.
Commissioner Sanders. Is this the helipad here? That's, just so I have it right in mind.
On the back
Yeah,
corner of the property.
Yeah, the red is where it's gonna go.
Yeah, but the actual helipad, where is it located on?
Is it the helipad, that dot back
Yeah,
there?
yeah, it's right there. It's right
This is
in
it here?
there. It's right in that
And
part
that's,
right there.
as far as cut through right there, it's not gonna interfere with,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, so it's not gonna hurt it. But I'm just glad to see this, because now you got to go up and around and over, so now it's gonna basically be a straight shot. And I know the folks down there are anxiously waiting, because they got the striping on the road and it's good and everything, so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for
No
letting me
problem.
speak on it.
Any discussion before we vote, or before we potentially vote? All right, so we're looking at 1 through 5 on consent and number 7 on consent. What's the pleasure of the board?
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Croom. Any discussion on any level? Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Ms. Aaron, let's go to number 6.
Okay. Number 6 is relative to District 5's paving funds. There are some task orders for design and bid specifications. There is, 5 roadway segments there. and there is actually, one additional one that we've requested from Dewberry that actually, the request came later than the others, so they're still working on that particular task order. And that's the addition of Bear Creek Lane in East Point between Ridge and Wilderness Road.
All right.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I thanks for bringing Bear Creek up, Aaron. I didn't see it on the report, so I contacted her, and it's on for the next one. But I also want to bring up Lighthouse Road and Carabel. I tried to get that done too, but that's just too much money. It's a mile long, and they were looking at $1 million for the mile, so that I cannot do that at this time. I was thinking about splitting it up, but Aaron brought up a good point in that maybe since it's considered potentially an evacuation route through an arterial road of 98, that we might can go out next year for a stop or scrap FDOT funded grant to hopefully maybe resurface and widen Lighthouse Road. So I just want to make a note for that so that the public is aware.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Amison,
Second.
second by Commissioner Croom. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Ms. Aaron, you got
Thank
any
you.
other information for us?
Oh, yes. Let's see. We actually, the courthouse restoration project, there was a letter of consent for the Historic Preservation Award nomination that was submitted by the project's architects. So we did actually send in that letter of consent to be considered. Sylvester Williams Park, the fencing repair and replacement project was supposed to begin Monday. It actually started on Tuesday, but they do anticipate being finished with that this week. It's looking good, and I hope to have you all some good project update photos on my next report for that. The St. George Island basketball and pickleball court, the concrete pad has been poured. It does have to cure for approximately 4 weeks, so that would get us to April 26th. Work has also begun on the shade structures and the fencing around the pickleball and basketball court. The Kendrick Sports Arena concession restroom repairs, there's a status update there. We were able to open those restrooms, absent of having the special order custom countertops in for the park, and that was open to the public for the day of ball. We did receive some rave reviews from some of the parents that actually worked in the concession building. They were very pleased with the repairs that had been made, and also some of the electrical upgrades that occurred in the concession building. And the 6th Street Dune walkover has been completed, and it is open to the public. There is one actual utility box that was actually in the area of one of the parking spaces, and we have reached out to MediaCom to ask that that be relocated. As of yesterday, it was still there, so I have contacted MediaCom again to inquire as to when they were going to relocate that box. Whether they get out there in timely or not, at some point, I don't think their box is going to survive where it's currently located. And then we also have CR 67 Phase 4. We did receive the final bid documents on that. Those are up at FDOT right now for their review, and once they give us the green light, we can advertise for construction bids and CEI for CR 67 Phase 4. So just wanted to give you guys some project updates, and if you have any questions, there's also a few pending task orders right now with Dewberry for other road paving projects. Yes. Commissioner Jones has requested a couple of roads in his district for their design and construction task order. And then also Commissioner Croom has also requested some assistance with the parking lot paving in between Chapman and the Apalachicola Library area. So I know Dewberry's aware of both of those right now. And one other item to note, we actually have a pre-construction meeting scheduled for the St. George Island Stormwater Project through the Restore program. That's actually going to be held on April 30th. We just received confirmation of that yesterday, and the official notice to proceed date is set to be May 1st from the U.S. Treasury.
All right. Sounds good. Anyone have any questions or concerns for Ms. Aaron? Ms. Aaron, I know that Ms. Kim is now been moved up at an air. She's now over the reserve. Mm-hmm. And we were talking to her some before about the maintenance permit that the county is required to have to maintain our dredge spoil area in East Point specifically, probably in Appalachia as well. The Corps didn't have to have a maintenance permit because they're federal.
Correct.
But we were made to sign the MOU saying we're responsible, but we don't have a maintenance permit, so we can't actually do the work. So, I would like you to reach out to her again and ask her if there's any movement on her side. And I do understand and know, because we've discussed it, I'm just doing this for the public's benefit, that, we're also trying to work through ARPC to see about maybe hiring a consultant to help us move through all the barrage of federal to get the permit that we're required and the permit that we need to be able to maintain and do the things we need to do for Franklin County and its residents. So if you would, please just ask her, and I'll
Will
continue to
do.
work on the other front.
Will do. And also, this past week, I also reached out to, I spoke with Miss Anita Grove at Ainer, and then also Joe Taylor with Youth Conservation Corps. And I did talk to him. I know Commissioner Jones has expressed interest in the East Point Nature Center project,
Yes.
trying to get something happening with that. And so we're going to try to actually, get all of the entities together to try to figure out as far as, doing a butterfly garden and some picnic pavilions and, for the public outreach component of a nature center, actually on that parcel. So I did speak to both Anita and Joe, and at some point towards the end of the month, we'll try to have a meeting on site to try to figure out a good path forward on that.
Right, sounds good. Yeah, and so just to make sure the public's aware of where she's talking about as well. So this is the area that the TDC has purchased in the last couple of years that is north of the current boat ramp in East Point, the public boat ramp, in between the two stores that exist there. And we're talking about developing and doing some stuff for the public and making it a public space that's usable. All right, anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I do real quick, Aaron, and the only reason this popped up on my brain was we had TDC in here earlier and we were talking about Day of Ball. I didn't notice, and it may be there, but is there any signage out there on those fields, like at Kendrick Park and Wilson, that's got any, TDC funded?
Is the logo there?
Yeah.
Actually, we do need to improve the signage at both of the parks.
Okay.
So that's something we do need to work on, and actually have the TDC logo put at both of those parks.
Because, it was our first tournament since
Yes,
Yeah,
and we
it was-
definitely want that done before the big tournament in July as well. So yes.
Yeah, because you'll have a lot of people from
good
all over the
comment.
state coming. But yeah, it was a well orchestrated event, and I know that Fonda and them didn't show up, but I would, since we're talking about it, Parks and Recs did a tremendous job
They
out
did.
there.
I had a good day myself.
The only thing is I'm just getting old and I can't hear and see, and they had me doing books and I couldn't hear ball strikes. I couldn't do nothing. So I was just a grumpy old guy back there behind home plate trying to fill some stuff in. But the kids had a blast. That's what matters. But
And it got hot out there too.
you want to see my tan line?
There you go. There you go. So anything else from Ms. Aaron? All right, let's take a 5-minute recess and we'll come to Mr. Moore. Franklin County Commission is now back in session. We're moving to County Coordinator's Report, Mr. Michael Morrow.
Hey, Commissioner.
Good morning. So we're on page 24 of the handout, the attached by, number one is attached to my report is a ship inspector agreement for your review. The ship inspector is responsible for the initial project write-up and all inspections, including the final inspection. Mr. Terry Mulch has been doing ship inspections for the last few years, very familiar with the ship program, and is well qualified to provide the service. Attorney Schuler does need to review the agreements because the agreements before were written with Lori Schweitzer with Community Action, but now it's now a county department, so there may be some differences. So I would like, if you do approve it contingent on Attorney Schuler's review.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
If you don't mind. Michael, this, we don't have to go up for bids for this because it's a specialized position, correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thanks. That's all I need to know.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? Pleasure of the board. Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Amison, second by Commissioner Sanders, to approve the ship inspector agreement contingent on Attorney Schuler's review. Any further discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's a 4-0 vote.
And Commissioner, let me correct, Commissioner Ward, let me speak a little more about that. When you asked the question, I was thinking about it. It's, number one, I believe it's below our bid policy, the total amount, and number two, it's been an ongoing contract for years. We're just changing some of the terms to it.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Yes, I'm sorry, just, old age, you think, you talk quicker than you think, so, yeah. Item number 2. Okay, so, yes, if you want to call me the flip-flopper, go ahead, that's fine. But the change of county commission meetings from Tuesday to Wednesdays, that's working well, except one thing, payment of county bills. Most of the vendor payments for years, contract payments, utility payments, etc., are set up to be paid around the first and the middle of the month. With our monthly meeting scheduled for the second or fourth Wednesday of each month, the county is having issues with timely payments. The best scenario would be the one we wanted in the beginning, is the first and third Wednesday of each month. As I said, this was the board's preference, but at the time when we were doing this last year, the county clerk, the county judge was still working on their docket, and it looked pretty thick. With the help of our clerk, of course, Mrs. Maxwell, and her speaking to the county judge, at this point, they think we can make that switch, and we should be all right. If there's a conflict, and I'm just talking now, I'm not reading anymore. There's a conflict, with a jury trial on which will cover the third Wednesday, we'll have to make a change. Keep in mind also, as an option coming up soon, Mr. Patterson, your billing official, is working. Now that he has an inspector, he is working more administratively and working on enclosing the drive-through at our East Point Administrative Building. That will be a building department, multi-purpose training room. That room will be able to be used in case of emergency for county commission. Not in case of emergency, I take that back. It will be able to move as alternate meeting site if we have to. I'm sure there's some public hearings that we will have in the future that may work out better if we move them to that location, more centrally located, depends on what the public hearing is about. So that will be an option coming up here, hopefully really soon, within the next few months. So basically, I'm asking the board to go ahead and move the meetings to the first and third Wednesday. Fingers crossed, I will never have to have this discussion with the board again about moving meetings. And so if we do, we will start in May, and our meetings in May will be the 7th and the 21st of May.
Okay.
Mr. King,
Yes, go ahead.
can I tell you, the first and third will be better for me than the second and the fourth. I
Okay.
don't know about.
I'm good with it,
I would
either way.
move it. The first and third would be better for me too,
Yeah.
so I'm glad.
I'm good with either way. Commissioner Ward, are you gonna be amenable to change it that quickly? For your
Yes.
schedule? Okay. Just wanted to consider everybody. Anyone else?
Appreciate that.
So we need to make a motion to move it, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So move with a comment,
All right, so,
and it's a quick one.
and you're approving to go to the first
Yeah.
and third Wednesdays?
Yes.
Okay,
Second.
at 9 o'clock. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Amison, second by Commissioner Crew, Go ahead with your
He
comment.
said second, I was about to say no, the first. But anyway, just, you know, staff, this no reflection, we all talked about this was gonna be a work in progress.
Yep.
I think everybody's doing
Yeah.
fine with it, so it's nothing major, and that's just a discussion. I wanted to,
Okay,
or comment I wanted to throw in there real quick, so.
okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's a 4-0 vote.
Commissioners, item number 3, this is a late add item, sir. It was determined earlier this week that your local planning agency board is short a required member and should not meet until this member's seat is filled. Since the LPA is part of the planning unit development public hearing process, I'm recommending that the board reschedule this Friday's public hearing until after that required seat is filled. Basically, once it's filled, you can go ahead if you'd like to give Attorney Schuler and myself authority to go ahead and schedule it to speed up the process. If not, we can bring it back to you when it is, Commissioners.
Okay. All right, any discussion, Commissioners?
I'll let you guys ask questions.
Any questions? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Amison, second by Commissioner Sanders. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous.
All right, item number 4, real discussion time, Commissioners. Commissioner Amison was recently notified that the $20 million earmarked by the governor for material to restore the Apalachicola Bay, we've been talking about this month after month. Here recently, it's been removed from the state's budget. Commissioner Amison would like to discuss this matter publicly with the board to, you know, tell you what he heard, what he found out, and where he thinks we are.
Mr. Chairman, well, I don't know how much discussion or valuable discussion with this. Basically what it was, that the governor, which we all know was making a $20 million ask. 19 of it was supposed to go directly to material, with 1 million of it going to regulation. Now, the problem here, and I tried to track this down with some help yesterday and the days before, but it's not a Senate bill. It's a line item within the FWC's budget request. It was it went before the Senate. Senate knocked it down to 5 million, with a 5 million for material, 400,000 for regulation. In the House was a big old goose egg. So what I would recommend from our community is that we reach out to our Senator and Representative, Mr. Schoaf and Senator Simon, and you know, ask them to support this. I know we at legislative delegation had a discussion about it during the delegation meeting, and then afterwards with both the senator and representative on a one-on-one basis, and you know, the political winds blow. Honestly, my opinion, and that's, I think we're just kind of we're being used along with other things in the state, and this is a battle. This is a political battle from the speaker and the governor. I mean, it's not hard to figure out what's going on there. But the problem we have with this is this is going to completely throw a cog in this wheel, and you know, any hopes of getting our bay back is just going to prolong that and push it down the road if it doesn't stop it completely. So we really need to stress to the community to get out there and voice their opinion on this. I know I've seen a lot of emails, and a lot of y'all have this had, like the Republican committee have been very active in arguing about things that they don't like, but I hadn't seen anything about this. And this right here is a direct effect on this community. So if you want to make your voice loud and proud, this is an avenue that needs to be addressed. So that's all I'm on. That's really all I have at this time. Now I have got with Ms. Webb from the partnership. We're drafting letters to as many senators and congressmen as we can find, or representatives, I'm sorry. But I would probably ask that we as a commission do the same as well, because I mean we're down in the discussion of this. So if we don't apply some pressure, at least make an ask and let the state politicians understand that we really need this funding. The window's there now is what I'm saying. But anybody else want to?
So is it something they're actually cutting on FWC's budget, is what they're saying?
Yes, on the
They're taking
request.
it out of their budget, is what
Mhm.
they're talking about, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I had somebody send you,
Mhm.
a notice about meeting with the concerning the Apalachicola Bay
Yep.
over in Pensacola. Make sure that you forward
I will.
those. I don't know if the chairman got it or not,
Yeah.
but make sure you forward it to the other commissioners.
I will.
Ms. Ward and the other commissioners, and make sure that y'all see that too, because it has some emphasis put on the Apalachicola Bay, so we need to be on top of that. Also, Senator Simon and especially Representative Sho sat right here and said that they were gonna, support us on the effort of going to FWC and everything. We didn't see nobody. I'm concerned. We need to emphasize to the representative and the senator that this is one of our core economic drivers, if you wanna call it, cause it is. And get as many people, there's a couple of senators I know and a couple of representatives I know, so I'll make some phone calls and see what they can do.
Mr. Chairman,
Like I used to know.
if I may, real quick, while some of mine is Michael, whenever you send that information that Commissioner Sanders is referring to, could you copy Betty with the partnership so she has that as well?
I didn't know nothing about it.
Well, that's the first I've heard. That's why I wanted to make sure.
Pensacola.
And Betty may know. She's been under the weather, so I hadn't been able to really communicate with her much this weekend.
Yeah.
But going back to this, the Bay, if you think about it like this, and I thought about this all weekend, but the Bay had thousands of years to develop these bars. The bars are gone. But we got to have, and I've talked to this reporter on Channel 13, and they condensed my 1 hour discussion down to about 10 seconds. But the thing, and I told her, I said, if anything in this that needs to be stressed is the fact that we need material. If there was material in that water right now, 2 years after the closure, we wouldn't be having this discussion. And that's where a lot of the people that come in here and that's not from here, that's in the community, that supports the Bay, and trust me, I love the support, but they don't understand, like a lot of us do, that without that material actually physically being in the water, that spat's not growing on anything. You're not gonna sit there and close the Bay for 5 years and it's gonna rejuvenate to what it took thousands of years for nature to do. You've got to help it. And the only way you help it is by getting material in the water. And we have not had material put out. We've had some small things, and that's why I try to stress to people. We have not had a large-scale restoration. These have been pilot studies. You're talking about less than 100 acres of fishable bottom that they're talking about opening in 26. 100 acres. I mean, geographically, just think about 100 acres. You're probably talking about the 10-foot hole, and I'm not gonna sit here and try to draw out a map in your mind, but look at it, 100 acres versus tens of thousands of acres of bars, traditional bars. That's a drop in the bucket. Without this funding, basically the way I look at it, and I have really had, I have been on an emotional roller coaster with this ever since I found out Friday. My wife had me check my blood pressure like 20 times a day, but the fact of the matter is that without this funding, the last 5 years, whether you like what's happened in 5 years or not, the money that's been spent, you might as well walk to the top of that bridge and throw it in the damn water, or excuse me, because it was wasted.
It was.
It was wasted. Everything we've done, whether it's been a lot, and we can all argue what's been done, but there has been stuff done. But every bit of that money, everything that's been up to this point is just pretty much dead. I mean, it's just gone, and it just flabbergasts me how our politicians at the state level can't get behind this because we're on the precipice. We're this close. If we can just get that material in the water, then it's just going to continue to get better. The science has been done. The money for all that's been done. Now it's material time, and we get nothing. And I can't understand it. I don't even want to get there because I'm going to have to go
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I say
in the
something?
room and scream.
See, that's the thing that bothered me the most when Devin put that presentation up there. Because I thought the original project was like 2,000 acres. We had,
1,000.
1,000.
And they've
Well,
done
we have
77.
right at 3,000 acres of oyster bars, between 2,000 and 3,000 acres of oyster bars in Franklin County. So when he come up there with that 100 acres, took him 4.5 years and $27 million, basically. I'm like you. What did they do?
Now, with the NIFWIF money,
Yeah.
that 20 million is not exhausted. They still have some, and they're actually, that was a part of their budget request was, that's their first request was to get another 10 million from that. I think there's, and I may be wrong, but I want to say there's either 17, I think there's 17 million still there, or might be 15. I can get those numbers. But that was one of their budget requests, is to, open that or allow them to get another pool there to go along with the governor's 20. So that would have gave us, and that's where the 30 come in. So then we would have had 30 million for material. And, well, that's where we're at. And I can tell you, with the cost of material, that's not gonna go a long way. It's just heartbreaking to, which, I mean, at the end of the day, it's politics, I reckon. That's
Well,
why
Mr. Chairman, I
there's
don't
not a
know
good
if
politician.
people remember, sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
don't mean to interrupt, there must be a delay, but I remember when they were at our meeting, I specifically asked, what happens if we don't get this money? What happens if the governor decides not to give us 20 million, which now it sounds like we may not get it? So then what? We're stuck with what mess they've left, and it's kind of half done. So that was my concern when they came before us. It's been my concern from the beginning, and here we are, and it could potentially be an issue. I'm all about writing a letter or doing what we need to do to see about getting that money. And I hate that there's politics is at stake here, and it's not affecting, egos need to be put aside because it's not affecting them. It's affecting us, and it's affecting our community, and that's what's frustrating. So, I know a lot of people have been, as Commissioner Amison said, vocal about other things in the county, like, for example, the drilling, but, we need to get on this subject too, so be vocal about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No, you're
but this isn't FWC. This is our elected officials.
Yeah.
So if you want to be angry, that's the avenue, that's the direction, that's the target. We need to, that's where we need to be pushing at. FWC wants it. So it's not the big bad FWC against us. This is our politicians. So, that's the direction we need to approach it. It's not going to do any good to beat up on FWC. Well, we need to direct our I don't want to say anger, but our frustration is towards our representative and our senator. Which now, like I said, the Senate, at least the Senate did give us something, or was wanting to, but the House was just and that's what gets me, because I mean it's Representative Shope's backyard pretty much.
It is. So, Michael,
Sir.
a couple of things. Based on this conversation, I think we need to have a conversation with Ron from
Okay.
Capital City. He is our lobbyist. Also need to try to get the contact information for Chairman Barreto. I'd like to give him a phone call,
Okay.
see if we can get some help from him as well. I mean, he's in that position, he's appointed by the governor, you know what I mean? So, we'll see if we can get some help with that. Because at the end of the day, so here's the important thing for everybody to know and understand. Whatever they pass in the budget or take out now, the governor's only actions, as far as I understand it, and if I'm wrong, somebody please tell me, he can veto things in the budget he's given, but he can't add anything to it.
No, you're right.
So
I've never
it's got,
seen it.
if it's gonna be added, it's gotta be added now. So that's, that's why we do need to have those discussions now. Cause he can veto stuff out of what they give to him, but he can't add anything to it when it gets to that point. So,
Yeah, once they've reconciled, done the reconciliation of the budget.
Yes.
It's a done thing.
yep, yep.
And you're clocking down your time because it's gonna end the first Friday in May.
I'm supposed to get in, that
Session.
discussion starts,
Yeah.
I think this week,
Yes.
today.
Today or tomorrow.
Today.
It is today.
Conferences,
Yeah,
yeah, the
that- yes.
conferences, the preparation conferences and stuff.
But I would encourage the public to reach out.
So are y'all giving me doing what, I'm sorry, are y'all giving me doing what I did just by action, or does it need to be a vote?
I think it's the direction,
By direction, I mean,
yeah,
knows what I told Mr. Morone
Yeah, I think that's
about,
fine.
okay.
that's direction. You chairman.
Well, I still wanna make sure what we're doing is right.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Okay. We already addressed item number 5. Item number 6, the chairman has received complaints from employees regarding their costs to provide health insurance for their families. In addition, board members have received calls from another agency that would like to be considered as the county's property insurance provider. The chairman would like the board to discuss funding for a consultant in the upcoming budget that would review both the county's health and property insurance plan, then recommend to the board if the county should advertise for proposals or both services. I believe Erin she said 25,000 is what she would like the board to add to the budget. Actually, if you just give her direction, she'll go ahead and include it now
Okay.
as she starts to put the budget together.
I think that's what we need to do, and here's the reason why I say that. It's not to try to delay it, it's to try to do it right and to do it smooth. But the biggest thing is, in the past, one of our issues has been, anytime we've had any kind of discussion about insurance, it's put that all on Miss Erin's shoulders. So that's why I'm talking about a consultant. So we'll kind of know what's a good way to go, and somebody else can be doing the legwork and reporting back to us, and we can make the decision. So that's the reason why I mentioned it. I just want the board to be aware of that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I received those same complaints for years.
Yes.
That was one of the things that I know I brought up when I first got in this chair, and I've been in discussion. I think I talked to Mr. Morone over there about it, but I'm in favor of getting a consultant as well.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So do we need to do that by motion?
No, I think just direction
Because
to
it's
Erin.
going- it's-
Yeah,
okay.
it'll be in the budget, that's when you
Right.
make the approval,
Okay, that's cool.
especially during the workshop. We'll
That's
make sure
cool.
it's there for the workshops.
All right.
Item 7 here, I go kind of flip-flopping again. In the past, the board has suggested a county Facebook page. I explained to you guys, my problem with that was the archiving of that page. One of my bigger concerns. The other one is not as bad, was comments. So anyway, last week, I was on a call with Civic Plus discussing their public records request application, and then discovered that they have a social media archiving application that's used by the sheriff, I believe by our wonderful clerk and the supervisor of elections. He said they love it, they say they love it, and it works real well. So my question is, knowing that, do you want a Facebook page? Because that was one of my big hurdles about doing that, or are we good with just trying out the whole, the Everbridge Nixle alert system for now and stick with that and see how that works out before we go to decide about Facebook?
I don't think we're doing Facebook every day or Nixle Alert every day. I'm fine with doing both.
Oh,
And I will say that I think the school uses this same thing too. And the reason I say that is I have a, frankly, a lot of people won't know this, I'm giving a secret here. The FCS basketball page has been done by yours truly for the last 9 years. It is not an official page. It was set up to keep the parents and the players aware of stuff that's going on, if a practice was canceled or something was different. But the school, I think when Miss Moses was a superintendent, contacted me and said, look, we know you're not official, but because it's concerning school matters, we really like to add you into this tracking system. I said, sure, what you gotta do, what I gotta do. So it's been that way the whole time.
okay. All right, I'll work on it and report back to the board about also setting up the Facebook page and let you know.
Mr. Chairman, can I just make a quick
Yes.
comment to that?
Yep.
I'm still the administrator of Pee Wee football from 7 years ago.
There you go.
But our little community revolves around Facebook.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Honestly, I've said this before 100 times. What we just discussed about the Bay and reaching out to somebody, I guarantee you maybe a handful of people is gonna get that.
Yes.
Because nobody wants to listen to us talk for 5 hours.
Yeah.
But you put it on Facebook,
Yep.
Everybody knows.
yeah, but I would recommend shutting the comment section down, but get that information. If you wanna get information in our public, our community, Facebook is the avenue. I feel like we're Belize.
Yep.
Because, I mean, it just revolves around Facebook. That's the quickest way to disseminate information.
Okay.
Well, you know, I had Facebook, and then when Oscar passed away, I couldn't take the feeling sorry for him. So I done away with Facebook, but I can talk to my family members. They're all on Facebook, and I'll say, well, where'd you find that out at?
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is a good tool, I guess, as long as you can keep the drama out of it.
That's why I say the
Yeah.
comment section, shut it off and just use it for an informational tool.
Okay.
We've done it with the partnership and it's blown up, you know.
I like the recipes myself.
But you know, in all fairness, like I said, they're not gonna sit there and listen to us babble, but they will look at Facebook, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask, can we shut the comment section down
Yeah, that'd be-
on that? And who will be tasked with this, Facebook?
It'll be me, and I'll try to include, I can't say Courtney, I'll try Kim. Let me see if I can, I think I talked to Kim about this before, yeah. So myself and Kim will
Kim
do
can
it.
help you.
Yeah.
Don't let me do it, cause it'll get shut down. I'm on my 3rd account, so.
Yeah, okay, we won't. Streetlight update, Commissioner, I know it's an informational item, but I just want to let you know, finally, we've got, the power account at the Lanark Village helipad, and Duke is going to increase, change out some bulbs there to increase to put in 110s. That would light up that whole area even better. Thank goodness we finally got that done. Commissioner Sanders, I know, that was, should have been easy, but it was a task. Just put in the record, Commissioner Kroom had some new streetlights too. We have to move the AOED meeting because the county judge has this room on the 22nd. So I've contacted the chairman and the coordinator. We're moving that meeting to the 29th, and your next meeting will be Wednesday, April 23rd.
All right. Anyone have anything for Mr. Barone?
Oh, one quick thing, the
Yes.
senior center, Gail, is on board. She started working Monday. I'm sorry, hopefully she should, she's pushing for opening upcoming Monday. I'm like, Gail, no, there's a lot of work that has to be done on the inside. Courtney has to order some stuff for them, so hopefully in a couple of weeks it'll be open, but Gail is on board and she's working.
And you're gonna have a ribbon cutting for it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I've already talked to Courtney
Yeah,
and Kim
let's
about
get it
that.
afterward.
Yes.
I won't play safe, but I don't care about no ribbon being cut. I want it open because
Yes.
it serves such a good service there for the people.
Commissioner Ward, did you have something?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I thought I heard somebody in the background.
I thought I did too. That's why I thought it was.
I
you.
heard something too, but it wasn't me.
Okay. I just assumed it was you. I'm sorry. All right.
Let's check Aaron.
Yeah, right.
There it is.
All right. So we're on to Attorney Shoulder.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have 3 action items on my report. Does the board want to pull any of those items and discuss them individually or address them collectively? The items are the interim airport manager contract, the request for a public hearing to consider the petition to abandon part of St. Teresa Avenue, and then the 3rd action item is there is an update needed to the animal control ordinance that y'all discussed last week, so I need board permission to schedule a public hearing for you to consider that update.
Y'all good with all 3, or do y'all want to pull any of them? All right, we'll address all 3 at one time, sir. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve the interim airport manager contract with the chairman's signature and schedule 2 public hearings, one for abandonment of Teresa Avenue and the other one for update on the animal control ordinance.
Second.
Do we have a second by Commissioner Kroom? Any further discussion, Commissioners? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's a 4-0 vote. All right. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, first discussion item is the discussion regarding the possible increase in the special assessment MSBU for fire and rescue services. The letters from the four fire districts that we've received are on pages 52 through 57 of my report. Those four districts that are requesting a MSBU special election to consider the increase in MSBU assessments are Alligator Point St. Teresa Fire District, the East Point Fire District, St. George Island Fire District, St. James Lanark Village Fire District. We have not heard from either of the two cities or Dog Island. And so I wanted to find out if the board wanted us to continue to wait or move forward, wait on those other three districts, or just decide we've gotten four letters, it's time to move forward. And if that is the case, then I will need to bring back to the board essentially ballot rules and ballot language at the next meeting for you to consider, because the supervisor of elections cannot conduct the election until you have approved the ballot rules and the ballot language and authorize a special election. She then has to go to the Department of Election, or the Division of Elections, to get all of those approved, and then she will move forward with the mail-out special election later this year.
Okay. So have we received a final letter from the ones that are asking?
Yes, sir, they are
Because
attached.
I know with some of them, there's been kind of back and forth, and they didn't.
I've received the revised letter
Okay.
from the East Point Fire District. They apparently had used like a typo or something in the prior letter that I caught, and I brought that to their attention, and they corrected that and sent me a revised letter Friday afternoon, which I received in time to attach to this report, and it is found on page 53 of my report.
Well, I'm good with where we're at, because we've been talking about this for several months,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Mr.
Well,
Chairman,
there's been
can I-
sufficient public notice in
Yes.
my book, but I just wanted to make sure I got board direction first.
What numbers are we looking at, the increases? Because I think there's a difference in there. I think Alligator Point and St. George Island wanted, because they're 90.
I'll be happy to go over that with the
Yeah.
board's permission.
Do you have that here with you?
I do.
Oh, I
It's
thought
just
that was what you were talking
No,
about.
no,
the
it's
next
part,
meeting, but
it's
that's
part of
fine.
the
Go
letter that
ahead.
we've
Let's do
received.
that, let's see.
Yep.
For the Alligator Point St. Teresa Fire Department, they proposed annual increases are as follows: vacant lots from $10 to $20, single-family residential from $95 to $145, and commercial from $100 to $150. The East Point Volunteer Fire Department, they want the, from vacant lots to increase from $10 to $15. For residences, $50 to increase to $100, and businesses to increase from $100 to $150 annually. The St. George Island Volunteer Fire Department is requesting the following. They want to go from the current $95 rate for a single-family dwelling to $135 annually for a single-family residence, and for vacant lots to increase to $20, which presently are $10. The St. James and Lanark Village Fire Department, they are proposing that single-family residences increase from $50 annually to $97 annually. That multifamily rental units increase from the current $50 per unit with no maximum to $97 per unit, no maximum. That mobile home park rental spaces go from the current rate of $16 per space to $20 per space, with a $160 minimum increasing to a $200 minimum, and the maximum increasing from $375 annually to $450 annually. For travel trailer recreational vehicle rental spaces, $8 per space currently, over 16, to increase to $10 per space, with a $100 minimum increasing to a $120 minimum, and the $375 maximum increasing to $450 maximum. And again, these are all annual. They come out on your tax bill. Motels, hotels, and inns, B&Bs, to increase from $10 per unit to $12 per unit, with a $100 minimum increasing to a $120 minimum, a $500 maximum to be increased to a $600 maximum. Commercial establishments, that came out all right, $100 per building, with a $375 maximum to increase to $150 per building with a $450 maximum. Multiple business activities to increase from $375 to $450, and vacant parcels to increase from $10 to $12. What, did I skip one?
Dog Island.
No, Dog Island's not in there, is it?
St. George Island. That's it. That's
You got
four.
Dog Island.
Dog Island's not, they haven't submitted.
They haven't submitted?
No,
The two cities in Dog
two
Island are
cities
the
in
three districts out of the 7 that have not sent in any requests. And so,
Okay.
part of the purpose was to bring this to a public discussion, get the rates discussed publicly, get board direction. If you're ready for me to present to you the ballot language and the ballot rules for your consideration at the next meeting, at which time, if you approve those, you would then authorize the supervisor of elections to conduct the election. And as I said, she would in turn then contact the Division of Elections to get their approval for the mail-out special election.
okay,
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
Do you know that Dog Island knows that we're considering, do you have any information
I
knowing that they?
have not been in direct contact with
Okay, but-
anyone other than East Point, and that was because I saw that they had a typo in their letter.
And is it too late for them to submit a letter, for Dog Island?
No, ma'am, the board.
Not as
is
long
not
as
acting.
we have before the
I
next
just wanna
meeting.
make sure, so I'll contact somebody over there.
Yeah, because Aaron and I were talking about it, if we have a hard time reaching the, and it's not Dr. Teef
His name
anymore,
is-
it's somebody else, and
Well, it used to be Mr. Dick Voss, but I don't know who did
No,
it
it's
after
something
that.
completely
Yeah.
different now.
Uh-huh,
so if you could, that would help, Commissioner, let me know.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, the Carabel Fire Department's been contacted as well, and they have not returned any response.
Yeah, I know that they, when we had I attended I don't think they've done one since, in their last meeting they done in the United Firefighters in January. It was actually done at East Point, and at that time, the chief said that Carabel would not be asking for an increase.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So do we need to, does this need to be done, any action we need to take, or you just want to have the discussion?
This is just for discussion,
Okay.
and if you have direction to me to do something different than what I've described, tell me now. Otherwise, I will be bringing back to you proposed ballot rules, ballot language, and then you would then, if you approve those, authorize the supervisor of elections to conduct the special election via mail-out, and then she'll contact the Division of Elections and get their approval.
Yeah, I have absolutely no problem with the people voting for what they want.
All right, so, item number 5 for discussion is for the E911, address ordinance, draft. Do you want me to, I wasn't aware we had someone else on the agenda. Do you want me to hold that until,
If you would, yeah, let's do that, we can have that conversation together.
okay? Discussion item number 6, I have submitted, on page 62 of my report, a draft certification for all of your advisory boards to certify that they have completed the Sunshine Law, ethics, and public records educational requirements. And
Yes.
if y'all had any questions or concerns about the format of that letter, otherwise, I'll just have Mr. Morone use that as the certification.
No, that's good, and we also need to make sure, and I'll do it here, but we need to make sure, Mr. Morone and Mr. Schuler, that all of our advisory boards realize and understand that this Sunshine Law ethics stuff is annual.
Yes.
It's not a once and for all deal. It's every year.
Every year.
So,
And unless the board has any questions for me about the remainder of my report, that concludes my report to the board, subject to addressing item 5 at a later time.
okay. All right. Anyone else have anything for us, Mr. Schuler? I would like to discuss something, Attorney.
Yes, sir.
So we've had a couple of meetings here, we've talked about, our vacant seat on the TDC.
Yes, sir.
And we've had several discussions about, because there was, one of the people that was putting in was wanting to make sure they weren't running afoul or doing business with their own entity. And we've discussed what's in statute, of how you would cure that process, let me put it that way. And it's basically a form that they would have to fill out. So, I would like to have a discussion, it's not an action item today, but to add to what we publicly talked about before, cause the way you described it to me was that basically any of those potential board member, or any of those board members, volunteer board members, can fill out this paper. It's a once and all deal that's presented to the commission. The commission declares that they don't see a conflict, and you just go forward and you handle it appropriately when it comes time to vote on issues on those advisory boards.
That,
As far as abstention, correct?
that is the way I'm reading the statute.
Okay, all right. So what would prevent us from, and this is just for discussion and thought, not for answer today, what would prevent us from, as a board, being in a county of less than 13,000 people, of saying, we have who we have, so we're gonna just certify that whoever we have, as long as they abstain from voting on doing business with an entity, when a vote comes up, that we waive that anyway, and just have them fill out the form.
As long as the Form 4 from the Ethics Commission with the financial disclosures are filled out.
Right.
And this board grants the waiver that you're authorized to grant by statute, but it would have
Right.
to be for whoever fills out, they all have to fill out the form.
They'd all have to
They
fill
all
out
have
the
to come
form.
before the board, and the board
Yes.
acts to either grant the waiver or deny the waiver.
Yes, and it would be every volunteer board, correct? That has any way that they could do business with the county.
Right, well, except for, in my mind, the hospital board would not qualify
Right.
because they, unlike all your other boards, they have plenary authority
Yes.
to make decisions to operate the day-to-day concerns at the hospital
Yes.
with limited exceptions. For example,
Yes.
they can't sell or lease the hospital. They can't
Yes.
make the decision to construct a hospital or
Okay.
to, bond the debt
Right.
on the hospital.
Right.
Those are decisions that you reserve to this board,
Yep.
but otherwise, they are, in my mind, a decision-making body.
Okay.
Therefore, they're not advisory and do not qualify for that statutory waiver
Okay,
of
so,
the conflict.
so it's not the end of the world, but we do need to make sure we stay on top of this, because we need to fill that other seat. I mean, we've moved our meetings now for my reasons and for this reason to 6 o'clock in the evening, and we're still having a problem barely making a quorum. So we really need to move this forward.
Cause you need that extra person.
You do, we need that 9th person.
Okay, so I'll get with you after the meeting and get
Yep.
some further clarification. I mean, the form, we've got the form, they just need to fill it out and
Right.
submit it to the county commission, and
Right.
we put it on the agenda for y'all to discuss. I'll put together a
Okay.
bullet point of, what the statute says and what you're authorized to do, and then the board makes a decision.
Well, what I'm proposing, sir, so keep us straight and make sure we're doing it right. What I'm proposing is we can do it all at one time, instead of saying, that's not a conflict, or this person's not a conflict. We're doing it for the whole volunteer board. That's what, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, we'll talk further after
Yep,
the meeting.
it's all good.
Yes, I'll make sure to add that as a action item on my next report. It may be, if we can get them all to fill out
Yep.
the form, then we'll deal with it then. If we have to
Yep.
deal with it piecemeal, just depending on what the TDC board's requirements are.
Correct. Well, it's not just the TDC board, but it is the TDC board. It's not just that one, but it is. It does
Yes.
involve that board that I have the pleasure of chairing on behalf of this board. All right, anything else for Attorney Schuler? All right. Ms. Lydia Johnson with the Regional Planning Council. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Doing well. While she's getting set up, I want to address the board and make sure you're aware of something. So among other bills, let me not add any adjectives to it, that are being considered this session, one of them was trying to do away with regional planning councils. I think that that's actually stalled. I hope that it's stalled. That's all the reports I'm getting, that it didn't really get it, the movement or traction it needed. But I will tell you, as your chair and as their chair, all of our 9 counties have independent MOUs with the Regional Planning Council. The state stopped giving us funds for the Regional Planning Councils years ago. And even if they would have made that decision, our Regional Planning Council would have been intact, because it has MOUs with every county in the region. So it would not have affected us, but I just wanted to do that and give you time in your transition. Go ahead.
Thank you. So today I'm going to be giving y'all an overview of the Franklin County Vulnerability Assessment. I've been working on this along with Josh Adams for the past 6 months. So through Florida Statute 380.093, the completion of a vulnerability assessment is essential to qualify for future implementation funding from FDEP.
Excuse me, this mic has a terrible pain. I'm trying to get a little bit closer.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So the vulnerability assessment includes a critical asset process, flood mapping, exposure and sensitivity analyses, as well as an adaptation plan. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to go through some of the critical assets, and I will give you some of our adaptation recommendations. So the Florida statute defines critical assets as transportation, critical infrastructure, community and emergency facilities, as well as natural, cultural, and historical resources. These transportation assets would involve evacuation routes, airports, bridges, waterways, marinas. Critical infrastructure would be stormwater and wastewater treatment facilities, as well as drinking water facilities, solid and hazardous waste facilities, and disaster debris management. For critical community and emergency facilities, these would be your schools, community centers, correctional facilities, emergency medical care, as well as law enforcement and local government offices. The natural, cultural, and historical resources would involve conservation lands, parks, shorelines, and culturally or historically significant landmarks. To begin this process, ARPC shared an initial list of over 1,000 assets in Franklin County to be included in the exposure analysis. 20 of these assets were prioritized in the sensitivity analysis, and 9 were prioritized and will be featured in the final report and the adaptation plan. We should have the final report wrapped up by the end of April, and that will definitely be shared with you. So to begin, this is a map of those original 1,000 assets. As you can see, it's very busy. It has the community, infrastructure, transportation, and natural assets. This is a 100-year floodplain. A 100-year flood event has a 1% chance of occurring in the next year. And this is to a 2040 planning horizon. The FS 380.093 delineates that for the vulnerability assessment, we have to utilize 2040 and 2070 planning horizons. This is a map of the top 20 critical assets. In this map, they're just divided by district. It just kind of gives you a breakdown. You can see they're pretty evenly distributed. This is a chart of the critical assets in Franklin County. It just gives you a breakdown of which categories are more prominent. I will say, however, although natural, cultural, and historical make up a majority of the prioritized, they are all infrastructure, transportation, or community facilities. So these charts give a breakdown of those categories. So the sensitivity analysis has been conducted throughout the vulnerability assessment process, analyzing the intersection of hazard and asset data. The results were visualized through mapping and tabulated through tables to summarize which of the assets are identified as vulnerable. In total, there will be more than 28 maps and 10 tables involved in the final report. 65% of Franklin County's prioritized 20 assets are potentially vulnerable to a 100-year flood. And all 9 of the following featured assets are potentially vulnerable. So the first one is the Apalachicola Regional Airport. The airport consists of 3 runways and provides fuel and aviation services. For an adaptation measure, these structures could be retrofitted to elevate electrical components and tanks that could be subject to flooding, as well as stormwater upgrades to improve conveyance. This is the Weems Memorial Hospital in Apalachicola. This is a single-story on-grade structure that could also be retrofitted to elevate electrical components and tanks that could be subject to flooding, as well as stormwater upgrades. You will notice a trend with the adaptation strategies throughout this. Next, we have the Franklin County Courthouse. This is also on grade and could also be retrofitted to elevate electrical components. Next, we have the Franklin County Admin Offices in East Point. These could also be retrofitted and elevated. This is the future location of the Franklin County Emergency Operations Center. As you can see, there are no structures here. However, this site is also vulnerable to this 100-year flood. And these could be elevated, or these adaptation measures could be taken into account during construction. I'm not sure how far along that process is. Next, I have the Carabel Courthouse Annex. This is also a slab on-grade structure and would benefit from elevating the electrical components. We have all three of the water districts featured. For Alligator Point, the building and its associated water systems could also be retrofitted, and stormwater upgrades could be made to improve conveyance from the structures throughout the island. East Point is also the building is also a single-story on-grade structure. The building and its associated systems could be retrofitted to elevate these structures as well as more stormwater upgrades. And lastly, the St. George Island Water Management District and its associated systems are also at risk to these 100-year floods. And these stormwater upgrades could also be made here to improve conveyance. Thank you guys so much for listening to the overview of the vulnerability assessment. I wanted to give a special thank you to Franklin County staff, specifically Aaron Griffith, Angela Lawley, and Justin Steele for assisting us throughout the last 6 months. Do you have any questions and or comments?
So I do have one question. That's a lot of upgrades.
Yes, sir.
So are there any grants that particularly can be pursued that would address
Yes, sir.
these stormwater type things?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
the advantage of completing this vulnerability assessment and creating this report, it can be submitted to FDEP to qualify for the implementation funding to make these upgrades.
Okay. Well, and since the water districts are part of what was identified,
Yes, sir.
do they have to then apply themselves after it's submitted?
To my
Because
knowledge,
they don't fall into the county is what I'm asking.
yes, I understand. To my knowledge, yes. If I'm not mistaken, there is a component of the statute that accommodates water districts.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I'll be asking Mr. Rito or Mr. Adams about that address so we can do that. Because that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
That was the reason we wanted to do the
Assessment in the first place.
assessment. And we're not just trying to do studies, we're trying to get something out of it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Anyone else have any questions?
I just have a comment on the Carabel Annex in there. If we get water up in that thing, we need to move.
Understood.
Ground, because
Well,
that's
she
one
did
of
say
our.
100-year flood now. She didn't
Yeah,
just-
yeah.
1% of
yeah.
1%
I mean,
risk the next year.
But now, Lydia, you do understand that when we have storms, everything floods.
Yes, ma'am.
Because why? You got the rivers, you got the bay, you can't escape it.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it is, but I got tickled because when it said the flooding at the Carabel Annex, I said that's one of the reasons why we got that building, because it was on a hill and was not subject to that. And I can tell you that I own some property on one of them hills in Carabel, and every time you go to get something, you have to have flood insurance, but yet it's the highest hill in Carabel, you know? So it it's kind of funny the way they judge things like that. But I'm like Commissioner Jones. I hope there is some money to fund these things that you were suggesting.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I will, if you don't mind me. Hey, Lydia, sorry I can't be there in person, but thanks for coming and giving the presentation. The DEP also has grants specific to individualized water agencies like East Point Water and Sewer, things like that. So they do have where they can go out for their own grants individually as well. I just want you to know that.
So the only one I do know that might be different, Commissioner Ward, if the St. George Island Water District, which is privately owned, were to try to apply, we would probably have to apply for them, I would imagine.
You're probably right.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Lydia, actually, one thing that that actually, helped me as far as trying to, figure out like, okay, well, some of these areas have never flooded in the past. This is basically an analysis for, the flood zones of the future, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So like for the next 100 years, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that's just something to keep in perspective. Like, although none of these areas are flooding now, with, sea level rise and the different changes in, basically groundwater content and such, and development, that's kind of where the flood zones could go.
And it will be detailed more so in the report. You can
Right.
see in some of the mapping, you can see like ponding and drainage, and
Right.
in the event of a 24-hour rain event or sea level rise or.
So I do have one more question, and I don't know if y'all's if what y'all did looked at it this detailed, but we've had some, this board has had some back and forth discussion between different entities about how far our airport is above sea level. One entity is saying that it's 22 feet, the other one's saying it's 14. Did it go that detailed?
It did to a certain degree. I know that, Josh Adams,
Yes.
I know that he went through and, inspected all of the prioritized assets, and I know that he took notes in making his adaptation recommendations.
Yes.
I can confirm that with him.
Yeah, I'd be interested to find out. I think that would be better for this board, because it's one of the things, it's kind of on our to-do list that we've never gotten done. So when it come to a point here several years ago, there was a recommendation of a new flood map that was basically gonna make our airport unusable. But they did it with LiDAR, they didn't do it with boots on the ground, and they were saying that it was 14 foot above sea level, but the FAA has it recorded that it's 22 feet above sea level. And I'm like Commissioner Sanders, if we get water out there like that, yeah, the whole county's under, because it's high and dry property. But I'd be interested to know, in addition to the report, of seeing if we can get that information.
Absolutely. I can follow up with Josh.
Yep.
I can go back in memory right here, talking about that, Rick, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Back in 2004, 2005, when we were having those, maybe 2003, when we were having those hurricanes back to back, we had Francis, Bonnie, then the ultimate one was Dennis. I can remember coming out of the EOC at the airport, and the Gulf, the bay, the Gulf, whatever you want to call it, was
Yes.
at the EOC building.
Yes.
So, it happened, and
Yes.
that was at the airport, So it is, and that's something you need to know for future reference when you start to do all this work with the runways and stuff
Yep,
like
you
that.
do. We have to
They're
check all
gonna-
those boxes.
They're gonna require some stuff.
Yeah, they are. Anyone else have any questions for Ms. Lydia? Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I think it is. All right. So, Miss Barbara, I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your last name? I don't want to mispronounce your name. McInturf, okay. You're up next.
Well, I don't know if I should proceed or actually the attorney should.
I don't either, so she's wanting to talk about the same thing you're talking about.
Right.
Do you want to talk about your stuff first? And
Sure.
Okay.
Be glad to. We get to item number 5. Okay, possible E911 address display ordinance. That's found on pages 58 through 61 of my report. Commissioner Croom had contacted me last week and expressed a concern about not having an ordinance in place requiring and regulating the display of E911 addresses in the unincorporated area of the county. And actually, I think his question was, do we have one? And the answer is no, we don't. It's always, I think, sort of just generally been dealt with during the building permit process. But, many counties, most counties I found around us actually have their own ordinance
Yes.
requiring and regulating the display of E911 addresses. So I looked around at some of our surrounding rural communities, looked at actually some of the larger communities and the ordinances they have, which don't really seem to fit here. And what I have drafted is a proposed ordinance for you to just look at and discuss. And if the board is interested, you can authorize me to schedule a public hearing where y'all can consider the adoption of this. I've also, in conjunction with creating this draft ordinance, spoken both with Ms. Courtney and Ms. Renee Brannon
Yes.
about this matter, because the two of them in conjunction work together for the E911 system in the county. I've sent this draft ordinance to them. Heard back from Ms. Courtney. I haven't had a chance to check my emails. I don't know if I have a response back from Ms.
Right.
Renee yet or not, but they were both very helpful. Essentially what this does is it requires people to, if they don't have an E911 address, they have to get it, and there's a penalty if they don't. The penalty is if any person does not within 30 days comply with the ordinance, then they're subject to code enforcement. which is the process this board has put in place for the
Yes.
enforcement of your codes. But they'll be given plenty of opportunities to comply with the ordinance, and if they don't, potentially the penalty is up to a $250 a day fine.
Yep.
Other ordinances I looked at from other counties are, have different penalties, but this is the penalty that we have in place, so I thought it was appropriate to use code enforcement. This essentially requires people to display, depending on whether it's a residence or a commercial building or an industrial building, depending on that classification, then the size of the numbers differ. From a residence, it's 4 inches. For industrial, it's I believe 10 inches. There has to be a clear space between the public road that is the front entrance to the building. You don't have to number. Why I see these in ordinances, I don't know, but they actually have a specific exclusion that you don't have to put an E911 address like on your outbuildings and things of that nature. But in any event, to the extent that your building fronts on a public street or a public way, that is the direction that your 911 address numbers would face. They have to be in clear view in a contrasting color from the background of the building. So in other words, if you have a black building, you don't use black numbers. You use a different color, something that would contrast with the background so they're visible. And if there's a driveway that's shared by multiple dwellings or businesses, then there's a requirement that they have their addresses at the end of the driveway where it fronts on the public street or way, and also display the numbers on their building, so as emergency services come down the driveway, they can clearly identify which building they're supposed to be responding to. And of course, the entire purpose of the numbering system is the public health, safety, and welfare, and the provision of emergency services.
So
Mr. Crew, if there's any.
Yeah, one of the biggest things is, EMS, first responder, your law enforcement, can't find the houses that they have emergencies to. And when you have an emergency, literally every second count. Been in that situation many a times. Also with like your neighborhood and communities, allowing people to identify your homes, to report suspicious activity. Yes. That's another big thing. And our building official, he said it's a big issue for him as well. He's having a lot of issues with locating residents. Not new construction, but there's other stuff he told me to deal with. So one of the things I wanted to, and of course, I started back watching the news. I stopped for about 5 years, but I know, like Bay County, they got a commercial that come on every morning, and it's talking about the residents and informing them that they must have the addresses visible and everything.
Sounds like a good Facebook
I think it's
post.
something that we need to look at doing.
And he heard me. So the only thing I will say on Travis Schuler before we turn this over to Ms. Barber is for her comments. So I want to make sure, and I don't remember seeing it there, I know that one of the big problems areas we have problems with, and it's not picking on any area, is Lanark Village.
Yes.
Barracks.
Is the way things are designated out there and where it's posted. We really need to get a handle on that as well. I don't know if this could be, included with that to make it clear. And the other thing that I'm concerned about, especially on St. George, because I know that it happens there more than anywhere else, the road fronts the property fronts the road, but the house is so far off the road, a 4-inch letter might not be seen. So if it's a certain distance, is there something where it has to be posted beside the road? See what I'm saying? I want to make sure that's included.
Yeah, I believe that is in there, but
Okay.
I will double check to
Okay.
make sure.
Those
I
are
think it's
my-
like 150 feet or something.
Something
but
like that.
I think I'll look
Yeah.
and see. I'll check. So Lanark,
Because again, like the commissioner's saying, Commissioner Kareem, in those moments you're responding to something, you don't want to be, you know what I mean? So you want to know where you're going.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the problem with Lanark Village that we've had out there, and this is where it comes to that it needs to be the board's decision or by statute's decision, is they cannot make up their mind. There's some of that wants the numbers on where they park at, but you only got limited parking area, and they're parking out everywhere. Then the other people wants it on the corner of their house, but you've got a whole row. And so we need to find something that is state
I'll be with you,
statute.
Commissioner.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
I know it's gonna be a hard one though.
yeah, but also what we're doing though, Commissioner, we're not asking them where they want to put it. We're fixing to tell them where they're
Right.
going
I'm
to put it.
fi-
Yeah.
That's what,
Yes,
Been
ma'am.
asking too long,
Yeah.
from what it sounds like.
I got mine. But now, a long time ago, it was just use the E911
Yeah.
address. But now, you want the physical address, mine's 4901.
Yeah, just the numbers.
The number.
Yeah.
They gotta know where they're at, yeah.
Mine's up there. so.
Yeah. All right, anything else, Attorney Schuler, before I turn it over to Ms. Barber?
No, sir.
All right, Ms. Barber, go ahead, please.
Well, basically, our group got involved because we were canvassing. And we had residents coming up and telling us that fire department, ambulance departments stop if they see somebody outside and asking where something is, somebody lives. And we would ask teenagers, where is such and such? And they'd say, oh, well, they didn't know.
Yeah.
And that particular incident was Lanark Village. Our group is willing to help with this. I think, honestly, if we let the public know, via newspapers, via radio, that you're gonna give them a time frame, this is just a suggestion, I'm not telling you anyway.
Yeah.
That I think you'll get a lot of compliance.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're gonna have individuals that, because of their age, because of their physical limitations, aren't going to be able to do it themselves. So, our group is also willing to go ahead and work with the fire department or any other volunteers to help, put these numbers up on their, houses wherever it's identified being. So, and that's all. It sounds like you two got your stuff together. It's refreshing. I was making all these kind of notes before I came up, and now I don't need to.
Well, but that's all good though, Ms. Barber, because honestly, I didn't know this conversation was already going on with Attorney Schuler, like was said earlier. I knew when I talked to you, I'm like, yeah, it definitely is,
Well,
it's very important.
I talked to Anthony before he got elected, and then we spoke again once he was.
Yes.
And so, it's refreshing to hear that, people are responsive to conversations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized? Do you want me to revise the draft based on the comment regarding Lanark Village and the chairman's comment regarding
Yes.
not multiple houses on a long driveway,
Right.
but a single house, and
Right.
bring that back to you for consideration at the next meeting, and then y'all decide whether to set it for a public hearing?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's what
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
do.
Go ahead, Ms. Barber.
Just because we've done all the canvassing and like that, and I've talked to the state, and we've done this, if I could see a copy of that draft, more eyes sometimes help.
Oh, when it's presented, that's, yes, ma'am, it'll be a public document. You'll get a copy, yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Barbara,
Ms. Barber, hold on.
I wanna ask you a question. Explain what your ABC democracy does.
Okay,
You don't mind
it's an
speaking.
acronym
But-
for Apalachicola Bay Coalition, then for Democracy.
Okay,
That's, and so, we're proud of the fact that, Franklin County became #1 in the state for voter turnout.
Yes.
And I think, our group, can't take all the credit by any stretch of the imagination, but we do take some of the credit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ward, do you have something?
Yes, Chairman, thank you.
Yes.
A lot of the problem too, I think, is a lot of people in our community, especially in the Lanark Village. I had a hard time when I was doing home care, trying to find addresses, especially in Lanark, was horrible. I'd just knock on doors as I went down the line. But a lot of people have P.O. boxes, and so I think that they feel like they're not required to post their. I know FedEx sometimes and Amazon or not Amazon Amazon, UPS won't deliver to a P.O. box. So that's even more of a reason for safety in addition to other things. But I know a lot of people have the PO boxes, and so they don't feel like they have to present or provide their home, the actual address of their home on a home, on their, outside of their home or whatever. So I think this is a good idea moving forward.
Yep, I do too.
And I've, Mr. Chair, I've
Yes.
talked to Ms. McInturf and a couple other organizations in our community. If you observe like someone that cannot, is disabled or will, let us know, or let me know. I come put it myself, I already said that. So, and I know you said your organization would do it as well. And I will ask this of your organization, I think I said this before, about a year ago. When you're in that area, try to jot down the location so we'll know, so I know, of, who doesn't have the address, because I know you said you always having issues locating several residents.
But I anticipate you guys y'all will put something out soon, and
Yep.
it might be a timeframe in which there'll be something published and disseminated to the public.
Yep.
So they'll have a timeframe, and I'm not being ugly or anything. Will that be this year?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yep. All right. That it, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we're now to commissioner comments.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one. I just
Yes.
want y'all to know that my little dog has been sitting here with me.
Oh,
She's been wanting to chime in, but also I want to say, go Gators.
No.
Basketball national
That was
champions. So I just want to give a shout out to them. Little humor.
That's a Seminole I was pulling for y'all.
I was too. That, I will say this while we're talking about that. The guy that plays for you guys, last name is Richard. He reminds me of another really famous ex-Florida Gator because he won 2 championships in basketball, and that's Al Horford. He seems to be a really good team basketball player. He's a good guy.
That was a good game.
It was. He's good. He's easy
All
to
of
root
it was
for.
good.
Yep.
All 4 games, final 4 games.
All
Very
of it
good.
was good.
Any other commissioner comments?
Can we get Miss Barbara back up here where she can tell us again that we're
I think she left.
doing so good?
I think she left.
I just wanted to hear it one more time.
You missed that opportunity. Sorry. I will say this to make sure the rest of the commission's aware, talking about having meetings. So at last meeting, we talked about, and I'm gonna be brief, one of the issues we're having with some houses at Lanark. And we had been at the FACT legislative day, and all those different department heads had said, if you need us, call us. And I'm talking about people that are in the governor's cabinet. So last week I called the secretary of DBPR, Miss Melanie Griffith, and I discussed with her about the steps Franklin County is taking and what we know that is under our purview to do. And asked her, I said, I know you can't tell me your investigation, but we want to make sure we don't do anything that's going to somehow hinder what you're doing. She assured me that we can't do anything to hinder what they're doing at all. And I have still been in conversation with them, told them what the steps we had taken. They were good with every bit of that. So as we work toward resolving ourselves, just know as a board, know as a community, that it won't be over just for what the county's doing. So DBPR is looking at every person that was involved in the process of building those houses from start to finish. And I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware of that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Not a problem.
Thank you for doing that.
Just an update. It's what we do.
Yep.
Any other commissioner comments?
Get well soon, Jess.
Yeah, get better soon and don't get on any rollerblades.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Lesson learned.
Yeah. Put them things on eBay.
I missed it.
All right. Meeting adjourned.